of Mr. Anil Kumar Ji, husband of Dr. J. Lata, Pro Vice Chancellor Ma'am, Jain University. I request you all to stand for a minute in silent prayer.
Kindly take your seats. We extend a special warm welcome to all dignitaries, many of whom have traveled from far and near to here with us today. The theme of Jain International Conference 2023, being organized in association with the Institute of Cost Accountants of India and Confederation of Indian Industries, is Convergence and Transformation as Ways of Business.
On the first day of conference, that is today, 12 keynote sessions by eminent speakers and a panel discussion session on the topic Unfolding the Future Together, Academia-Industry Convergence will take place, with the objective of translating academic research insights into business solutions. Deliberations on 7 different tracks in the conference are scheduled for tomorrow. May I now request Dr. K. Srikumarji, convener of the conference, to come on the stage and address the audience.
Thank you, Nisha. Respected dignitaries on the dais and off the dais, delegates, students, and other participants who have joined us both physically and in the virtual mode, gentle ladies and noblemen, very warm good morning to all of you. The morning is filled with grief as the husband of our beloved Pro Vice Chancellor, Dr. J. Lata, is no more. She was the soul of this program. Since we have participants and delegates all over the country, we have decided to go on with the sessions. Thank you for being here. So welcome to the first edition of the Jain International Conference, Jain Icon 2023, organized by the Jain deemed to be University, jointly with 2 prestigious organizations of the country, the Institute of Cost Accountants of India, the second largest CMA body in the world, and the largest association of industries, the Confederation of Indian Industries, TCM division. Welcome to Kochi. This is a vibrant city, hailed as God's own country, situated on the southwest coast of the Indian Peninsula. Also known as the Queen of the Arabian Sea, it is the biggest metropolitan city in the state of Kerala. Over the years, Kochi has emerged as the financial, commercial, and industrial capital of the state of Kerala. Kochi is also a hub of renowned educational institutions in the higher education space. Cochin University of Science and Technology is named after the city of Kochi. It is a major university in Kochi city. India Maritime University, Sri Shankara University of Calicut, National University of Advanced Legal Studies, Central Institute of Fisheries and Nautical Engineering, National Institute of Oceanography, Central Marine Fisheries Research Institute are also located here. The city also houses 4 major medical schools, both in public and private sectors, many major engineering and technology colleges, and many prestigious general colleges are also located here. About Jain University. Jain is a young private university headquartered in Bangalore with an ACK accreditation of A++ and a CGPA of 3.71 out of 4. The university has secured 79th position among the first 100 premier universities in the country in the NIRF ranking. About the conference, the new Education Policy 2020 envisages building and collaborating and developing industry-academy connect to solve the problems of the industry through academic research projects and research. This conference will be a platform to lay down a landmark in the higher education space, as our university is taking a lead along with other prominent institutions in our country. This conference aims to provide a platform for knowledge sharing between the industry experts and also the thought leaders from academia, from the country and also globally. Sessions will be built around integrating can work in providing the best solutions locally. So we have to be global and also local at the same time. The interdependencies between countries are very deep and vast, and therefore academia and industry will have to work in tandem by holding the hands together . Multidisciplinary and collaborations with industry is very important, as getting updated becomes a moving target. So to stay at the same place, we have to run faster. To the extent possible, all the departments in our university collaborate and cooperate with the discipline-specific research initiatives. And that is a culture of Jain University. We support one another, whether it is a program which is organized by commerce or management or forensic science or IT. We all hold hands together and see that mutually beneficial insights are drawn from such conferences. Now let me get into the duty of welcoming our keynote speakers, panelists, and all those who have assembled here. We take this opportunity to cordially invite Dr. Shri Srivastava, GS1 France Chair from HEC Paris. He has just arrived. He will be joining us shortly. We also welcome Dr. Anjani Krishnan, Professor of Accounting of Michigan State University in absentia. He'll be joining online. Our two institutions who are collaborating with this conference, we have Mr. Nagesh Babu, who is the Principal Counselor of Confederation of Indian Industry. I take this opportunity to welcome you, sir. I also take this opportunity to welcome Mr. Lajish, the Chairman of Institute of Cost Accountants of India, Kochi chapter, who has extended great support to this conference. We welcome you, sir. I also welcome my co-convener, Dr. Kannan Balakrishnan, to this August gathering. A warm welcome to our beloved chairman, Dr. Chandraj Roychand, who is the Honorable Chancellor also of the university in his absentia, because he is with the Pro-Vice Chancellor, Dr. Jayalalitha, in the hospital, so he could not come here. So in his absentia, I welcome our beloved Chancellor to this function. I also welcome Mr. Ahmad Faisal Sheikh, who was the guest of honor to join us, but because of certain exigencies, he has to postpone the trip to India by one day. He's reaching tomorrow. So he will be joining us in absentia, but he had sent an audio clip which will be playing through. Genial welcome to Dr. Raj Singh, our Honorable Vice Chancellor. He has an immediate meeting which is there in Delhi, so he could not reach. In absentia, I'm also welcoming him. Warm welcome to our beloved Pro-Vice Chancellor, who is the soul of Kochi campus, Dr. Jayalalitha, in absentia. Gracious welcome to Mr. Vishal Chandraj, who is the Director Strategy and Development of Jain Group of Institutions in absentia. Warm welcome to Tom Joseph, Director, New Initiatives, Jain DMTB University in absentia. Hearty welcome to Dr. Rivi Raman, expert member of Kerala State Planning Board. Welcome you, sir. I also take this opportunity to welcome Amiya Tripathi, the CFO of Tata Insights and Cons. Hearty welcome to our mentor, Professor Dr. Paritosh Basu. Welcome you to this function, sir. We take this opportunity to welcome Dr. K. Mathukumar, Joint Controller of Examinations, Jain DMTB University, to this function. Hearty welcome to Dr. R. Satyakumar, Head Administration, Jain DMTB University, to this function. Let me cordially welcome the organizing secretaries, Ms. Veena Verma and Ms. Sonia and Thomas, heads of departments, other colleagues in the university and allied departments. Let me also cordially welcome the various committee members to this conference. We also welcome all our sponsors, chairs, co-chairs, authors, reviewers, students, and other contributors to Jain Icon 2023. These 2 days of deliberations, I know that the organizations and participants are eagerly waiting to engage, to listen to the experts on these 2 days, to understand the convergence between academia and industry, virtual and physical, global and local, best practices and next practices, interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary, and transdisciplinary convergence between technology and data. Hope that the takeaways from the conference would help all the participants to bring in the relevant and timely changes in their action plans of respective organizations, both in industry and the academia. I once again welcome all of you to this function. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the warm welcome. Our guest of honor for the day is Mr. Ahmad Al Sheikh, Executive Vice President, Engineering and Project Management, SABIC, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Mr. Al Sheikh is currently the chairman of Saudi Kayan and Takamul projects. In addition, he served as chairman of Hadid and served on the board of Marafik before his current position. Al Sheikh held several senior positions at SABIC, including Executive Vice President of Manufacturing, President of Yanpet, a joint venture between SABIC and Exxon. He has over 25 years of experience in the oil and petrochemical industries. Mr. Al Sheikh is unfortunately not able to join us here, but he has been kind enough to send a recorded message for this auspicious gathering. We will now listen to his inaugural address.
Dignitaries in the stage audience, delegate, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, and thank you for giving me opportunity to be with you today. My apologies for not being physically with you today due to unavoidable business commitment. I would like to thank Dr. Sir Kumar for giving me these opportunities and inviting me to speak to you today. A quick glance in my company. My name is Ahmed Sheikh. I'm the Executive Vice President of Engineering and Project Management at SABIC. SABIC is one of the leading petrochemical industries company. We have a footprint of manufacturing around the globe in many countries, China, Europe, KSA, US, India, Singapore, everywhere. In the top of that, we have a couple of research centers. One of our research centers, biggest research centers, we have it in Bangalore. In fact, I'm planning to visit Bangalore in 2 days' time from now, and I'll be seeing the activities there together with the executive committee from SABIC. And the theme of the conference of transforming from multifunctional disciplinary to a business solution, it comes in the right times where the industrial are really facing a tough challenge to survive in such competitive environment. Take example, the sustainability, the global warming, digitization, all these changes are area that need to focus on it. And I look at the pandemics. The pandemics, in fact, have accelerated a lot of things that we intend to do it maybe in 10 to 15 years time, but it has been accelerated due to the pandemic restrictions we see it. So with the innovations, and we think innovations and academia connectivities of what's happening in the industry is very fundamental to support the industrial challenge, to support the society, to support the global warming, and at large is the human welfare. I'm sure the conference is going to address most of these things, but I think it comes under a theme which really, in my opinion, comes in the right directions. And with that, I would like to, again, thank you very much. I sincerely thanks everybody for giving me these opportunities to speak to you today. And I wish that I have the time to see you physically and in the next opportunities. And again, I wish you a successful conference. Thank you very much.
We also cordially welcome Mr. Unni Nair, the Manufacturing Director of Jain Tires and Industries. We also welcome our dear friend, Professor Dr. M. Jaydev from Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the insightful inaugural address. Our next speaker for the day is Mr. M. Nagesh Babu, Principal Counselor, Confederation of Indian Industry, TCM Division, Hyderabad. Mr. M. Nagesh Babu is management accountant by profession and has been passionately driving modern tools of cost management in the industry for 25 years. Close to 15 years at CII, he is striving to take cost management to greater heights in the industry. He has been part of core group of total cost management, which formulated and executed CII TCM maturity model in the industry. May I request Mr. M. Nagesh Babu to address the gathering?
Morning. Am I audible? I'm audible now? Yeah. Good morning, everybody. I think with profound sorrow, we are to begin the session. And I'm thankful to the university. I'm thankful to the Pro-Chancellor and thankful to Professor Sri Kumar to partner with you and also address you this serene morning. Okay, I think that's a wonderful topic which we have today, convergence and transformation. And in fact, yesterday we had a very nice session with the thought leaders, and one of the pain point which came out through the discussion was how we can connect well. How could academia and industry could connect well? I think that was a key issue we spoke yesterday. And let me dwell on that maybe for a short while today. So what we see from the academia is people getting into the industry after they finish their professional course, and the way industry absorbs the student community, we see some gaps. We see some gaps in the industry. And I'm able to watch this for the last 30 years. And this gap is something which definitely needs to be addressed. Number one is the domain knowledge. So what we see engineering graduates coming into the company, getting into software, and getting trained in software, then getting into the job. So the skill is something which we look at. What it could be two types of skills. Could be a domain skill in whatever domains which you are graduating in or post-graduating in. That has to get really perfected. And it's not just the industry perspective, it's the domain knowledge, excellence in the domain knowledge, if I say so, that has to come in. The second point which I would like to emphasize to all of you, because I see a lot of student faces here. The second is the communication skills. So this is something is very important because the moment you get into the industry after the graduation, the communication is something is very, very important. So over dependence on Google or over dependence on the technology is something which is somehow getting the intellect darker and darker. Probably the communication skill is something which you need to address. Wherein industry could easily absorb you, orient you, and then you can start driving results. The third and most important is how you are able to work with your team. So this I thought I must tell you because the camaraderie in the industry is the hard point today. Is a hard point because that is something which is slowing the delivery of goals. So these three I thought, which I thought I must preempt to give you this so that you can probably work on them before you actually get into the industry. So let me get into my presentation. A word about CIA. Yeah, the word about CIA. CIA is a premier body wherein it is an industry body, if I may say so, which about 7,000 members, industry members, and 33,000 indirect members. And what do? We do a proactive role in terms of building policy and also building competitiveness in the industry. What do you mean by policy? Let me give an example. So when the GST was formulated, or when the PLI was formulated by the government of India, most of the inputs came from the industry through the CIA. So the CIA was channeling the industry inputs to the government of India to create this major policies. And probably you also know about the budget, which is just coming in next month. And most of the inputs for the budget will come through CIA. And we work very closely with the government on their policy advocacy. And we also look at enhancing efficiency, competitiveness, and the business opportunities for the Indian industry. So today, if you look at one of the gaps in the Indian industry is how do you accelerate your exports? So merchandise exports has been not so great for India. In fact, we just touched about $500 billion and then we again stepped back in the last 2 years. So enhancing efficiency, competitiveness, and the business opportunities is something CA is working on. How do we become more competitive? How does our export pricing is much better than the other countries? Reference point for the Indian industry and the international business community. So what does CIA do? It works with global industry bodies and it brings a connect between Indian industries and the global industries. This is something which we have been doing all along. And this is other part of CIA where I talked about the competitiveness. So we have centers of excellences across India, which work on logistics, which works on quality, which works on sustainability, which works on SMEs, which works on leadership, and which works on water, agriculture, and green business center. These are the domain experts which sit in various centers of excellences across India. And this is a consulting which we do for the industries. Getting into the topic, I also thought we should give you a small backdrop. So where does India's story stand out amid rising global uncertainty? If you look at the midterm, next 3 years, the India's projected growth, which you can see 6.3 and 7.3, as a projected growth of India, economic growth of India, or GDP growth of India. You look at the other numbers which are there as 0.2 or 0.3 or 4.7, which is really, really bothering the world. Global economy probably may get into recession. So if I may define a recession for you, global economic growth, if it dips below 2.5%, then the world is getting into a sort of recession. So probably we're still not there. India is a bright spot for the globe to ensure that the global economy does not get into recession. And why? So there are 3 parts to the globe. If you look at the US, China, Europe, and these are the 3 parts which actually contribute to the overall global economy. And what's happening? The US is getting into problems because of the recession signals which are coming in. Europe, because of high inflation and the Ukraine war. In China's COVID is still bothering. That's precisely why they're not growing in a big way. And India's story is something which is really, really going forward. But why? We also look at why India is growing. So just to give a snapshot of what is the other part of the globe looks like in terms of the growth and the projected growth, and the blue line is the India's growth, projected growth. So we are likely to grow beyond 6%, 7%, whereas the globe is probably half of what India is likely to grow. This is good news for India, but why? India's domestic demand is something overwhelming for the growth. That's a big trigger. And a lot of capex is getting into. So if you look at some analytics of the GDP, the investment to the GDP ratio is one of the key metric which will spell future growth. And from that perspective, India is doing well. So a lot of investments in getting into both private and government into the infrastructure, private into the production capacity. So this is something which is growing well. To lift and sustain high growth, and government needs to push hard reforms which are happening. So I think next couple of years, government is trying to push more reforms which can help the 6.9 growth which is projected. And a lot of good statements which are coming out from global experts. So it says it's not just India's decade, but it's India's century. So there are a lot of factors which is contributing to India becoming a bright spot in the next century. One of it is the demographic factor. India has the richest young minds. So the demographic factor of having the young population, which is likely to be productive in all their professions, is something which is growing. So the projected GDP growth is likely to be 7 to 8%. And per capita income is actually going to go up by 20%. Reduction in the carbon footprint, something most of the countries are working in. And what is called the non-farm jobs. This is the IT and the manufacturing and the service sector, which are going to create about 200 million. And it's a great employment opportunity for India also. And why do you think India is going to get pitched in that high growth? A very strong consumption outlook, which I said, the middle class population is growing and they're consuming a lot. And if you look at the patterns of the consumption, if you look at automobiles, if you look at FMCG, if you look at the food consumption, it's quite impressive in the way we are consuming. So most of the metrics, which we call it as consumption, India is number 2 or number 3. So that's precisely why the economic growth of India is projected at a high rate. Second is disruptions in the global supply chains. So if you see in the last 3 years, most of the manufacturing bases of several countries are coming to India. Simple example is Apple, which I may say so. So in the next 5 years, so Apple is likely to produce 15% of their production from India. So that is the phenomenal trigger which is going to help India to become the top spot. India is a key hotspot of tech services, talent and growth. So with probably 1.5 lakh or graduates coming out. So this is the tech talent which India is generating. And every country is depending on India. The volume which we generate in terms of the tech graduates is number 1 probably in the world. Energy transitions as a growth opportunity. So when I say energy transition, it's all about clean energy. So India, the carbon dependency is largely coming. Probably by 2035, more than 50% of our energy will going to be green. So this is something going to trigger. And we are going to build most of the technology within India. So that is the good point to Atmanirbhar. Finally, strengthened digital infrastructure. That is something which most companies are working. So digital infrastructure is growing leaps and bounds. So for example, I'll give you a small example of Tata Motors. So there's something called a demand forecasting model. So next 6 months, next 1 year, where I'm going to get my demand. And this is all enabled by digital. So they're going to get this demand forecast very, very minutely done, and then with a variation of, say, about 5%. So most of the digital infrastructure is in India is phenomenally growing. But let me put that into the top 100 companies or so, but other companies are still lapping up to move forward. These are the tailwinds or the triggers which can help India grow up. And what is CIA doing to enable all this? We're doing a lot of things. So one is the clean energy. CIA is enabling clean energy and the climate change. And we have a green building council which certifies buildings as green. They have a green core rating which certifies companies. And we have somebody from JK Tyres, Mr. Nair, would vouch that his companies are also working for this. Then we have a Green Pro Eco label, meaning the moment you buy a product, the product is going to label as green because the processes and the material which has gone through that are green. And we have a Green Entrepreneur Council where the startups are converting themselves into a green. And finally, renewable energy. This is the schematic pointers where CIA is enabling that high GDP growth. So let me get into my division, the total cost management division, which Professor C. Kumar talked about. We have all this, everything bright, everything right, everything positive. But there is one pain point which CIA is trying to address. What is the status of the corporate profit trajectory? So where are the corporate profits growing? They're growing, first of all. Oh, this is very important. Why should corporates earn profit? You must understand one thing. I also talked about the private investment. The private investment can come in only if corporates start making a decent profit. So is that happening? Look at the corporate profit to GDP ratio. Not so great, not so great. Meaning we were able to grow our revenues, grow our top line, grow our market share, but something which is we need to pick up. We need to pick up somewhere. We have to be better than the world or closer to the world. So our corporate profit to GDP as a percentage, we have actually fallen from 4.7 in 2010 to 3%. So this is something which India needs to work. That's exactly what I talked about, the competitiveness of India. So why we are not able to export, why we are not able to make profits, why we are not able to make investments. This is one factor which is troubling India. And why? So in the last 3 years, you would have seen inflation is something which is hitting very badly. And that is something which is not fully absorbed in the companies, and or they're not able to pass on to the consumers as prices. So McKinsey survey says global profit to GDP ratio is around 10%, but we are somewhere around 3.5%. And supply chain impact on P&L continue to be around 3% to 5%, because most of our inputs come from Europe and China and US. So this is something which is bothering. So the cost, the input cost volatility is been hitting India for a long time. And the way we are able to manage, and recently in the post-COVID, whatever input which used to come to China are moving out of China. So we are buying from Europe, which are more costlier. So this is something which CI is trying to address. And one factor which is bothering CEOs, CFOs, and most of the board meetings work on this. How do you keep this curve down always? That's what is going to drive my profits. So let's see how it can be done. So what are costs to the company? So generally the outlook is costs are equated to the profit and loss account of the company. But then you look at the internal and external reasons why costs incidents can happen. It is broadly due to the business strategy blueprint, business model design, product customer portfolio, business process efficiency, resource efficiency. I will not get into all of this, but then let me pick up one part. All of you understand what is a strategy. Strategy is something which company looks at how to deliver their goals. But the blueprint of the strategy also should look at economies. How do I economize my operation? How do I economize my value chain? So there are several models, several value chain models which are being worked out by companies to get this right. So I'll give a simple example. Let me give an example of an FMCG company or a cool drink company, which actually manufactures in one location and distributes across India. So you look at the economies of scale. So there are companies which spend about 25% to the logistics cost. So if you decide to produce in one point of the country and distribute to 1,500 points in the country, so that is one strategy which companies try and understand it won't work. The second point, let me also tell you, business model design. So today, if you look at online sales is going up very significantly. Online sales is which every company wants to target at least 10% or 20%, because the expenses towards that online sale is comparatively less compared to the brick and mortar sales which we do. So the strategy and the processes and the efficiencies dictate your cost structure. External what happens? External to the company. External to the company is all about macroeconomic indicators. So if any of you have taken a home loan, you'll keep getting a message. The RBI raised the interest and your home loan interest will go up. So this is the macroeconomic indicators. The borrowing capacity of the company will come down as the interest rates goes up. So if you look at these 3 years post-COVID, most of the companies look at it very, very seriously because they don't want to borrow, and actually, if they're not able to realize that, it's going to be trouble. So demand fluctuation is another thing. So if I put up a capacity of 100 tons and I'm able to sell only 20 tons, then it's going to be trouble for the company. So these are the factors which induce the cost structure. And that's how we are looking at making the companies look at these factors so that they're able to be more competitive. But what do companies do? The traditional way of looking at is look at your P&L. So I look at my profit and loss account statement. I look at my general ledger items. I look at my salaries. So I have 100 crores of my salaries. Let me reduce 100 people. Let me reduce 10 people. But that's not the way to do it. So the traditional outlook of the way companies look at cost is something which we are coming out of. So how do we help companies to address their overall cost? One is at the R&D level. At the R&D level, we help companies to create a most economical design. So let me give a small example. In India, if you take a survey, the first metric of buying a car would be mileage. I'm sure all of you will agree that. If my mileage is not good, then my total cost of ownership of the car is going to be very, very high. If you look at the cyclical demand of these cars, it's going up only because either price is going up or mileage is not so great. And that's why Maruti has been having a constant market share. So companies should create a product design which is most useful for the customer. I'll give one more example before I quickly move on. You look at Unilever. So Unilever says that detergent, when you use a detergent, it uses the minimum water to wash the detergent. So this is something which is the most efficient design. So a design is not something which is not looked at the product from aesthetic point of view or the manufacturing point of view, from the customer point of view. How do we look at cost efficient design from the company and the customer? The second part is procurement. So this has changed in a big way in the post-COVID, as I told you, how the supply chains are getting re-engineered in the post-COVID. So what happens in the procurement of a company is they look at the landed cost. At the moment a vendor gives me a product at 5 rupees, somebody gives me at 6 rupees, I go for a product which is 5 rupees. So we emphasize companies to look at what is called a total cost of ownership. That means even if I buy a product, so I'll give one more example. Look at an air conditioner or a refrigerator. Why people buy 5-star rated refrigerator and the air conditions? That is because your electricity consumption will come down. That is precisely what we talk about, the total cost of ownership. When I purchase input raw material, the quality should be very high, but that means my rejection should not be very high. Then my processability should be very high. My inventory should be very low. So these are the factors which will dictate my total cost of ownership. And the next one is about the manufacturing. How do I make an economical manufacturing? Meaning, when I manufacture 100 products, the per piece product should go on coming down year on year. So the interventions which I do during the manufacturing, it has to be reducing my cost year on year. So that we call as economic operation. The next point is about the profitable portfolio, meaning if a company is selling 1,000 products, do they make profitability from all our products? No. But how do I improve my profitability? I bring out a visibility on what is called a price cost gap. If I'm selling at 100 rupees, and if I'm incurring a cost of 110 rupees, that is something which is going to trouble the company. But do I have visibility of that 110? That is something which is very important. I'm sure you know what Amazon does or what a Swiggy does. So their platforms are so efficient, but then you will see they're always loss-making. So there are pointers to tell them where exactly they're making profit, and it's taking about a decade for them to mend their profit. And finally, something called customer portfolio. So it is a key aspect to look at within the company, whether the customers whom I'm selling to, are they giving profit? This is again a Swiggy-like example which I can give you. Every customer does not give them profit, but do they have a visibility? That's only time will tell. So what does TCM do? We connect business and costs. What we tell, costs do not roll out of your P&L account. Costs roll out of your business model, business strategy. This is a transformation which we are bringing in the Indian businesses, and we have been able to touch at least last 500 companies in the last 10 years. And this is the hierarchy which we rate the companies to tell them where you are in your competitive scale. I'll skip all these slides, it may not be helpful for you. Yeah, just to dwell on one side. So how does cost get scoped in a business? These are the areas where we work on companies to address their cost. It's not just in pockets. Cost does not sit in pockets. It doesn't sit in just in manufacturing or into wages or something. It sits across. So these are the companies we have worked out in the last 10 years, and it has been a great experience for CIA in terms of the way we work with industries. So thank you so much for your time, for your patient listening. Any questions I'll take up, maybe if not later. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you so much, dear sir, for such an insightful session.
May we take this opportunity to cordially welcome Mr. V.P. Nandakumar, Chairman and Managing Director of Manappuram Finance Limited. Also, Mr. Ranjit, Director Learning and Development, Manappuram Finance Limited, and the entire team from Manappuram Finance.
Our next speaker for the day is CMA Lajesh KL, Chairperson, ICAI, Kochi Chapter. Mr. KL Lajesh, FCMA, is a fellow member of the Institute of Cost Accountants of India. He's a cost and management accountant with more than 14 years post-qualification experience in the field of cost management, auditing, and management consulting. Sir, may we request you to address the audience, please?
Thank you. Respected dignitaries, fellow participants, faculties, students. Friends, the world around us is changing. And we have two options. Either we can adapt and change, or someone else will replace us. During the back days when I have qualified, those days, most of the SMEs, small companies will be using Tally. So those is ERP was a technological disruption, but due to the cost factor, many of the companies may not be able to afford ERP those days. And one of my clients was decided to implement SAP. As you know, now all of you will be knowing SAP. And they have implemented SAP for 1 year. And after that 1 year, they have prepared the financials and submitted it for auditing. But the auditor refused to audit financial statements derived from SAP because he was not familiar with an ERP, and he said he will audit only if they prepare the financials in Tally. So what happened is they had to prepare the entire financials in Tally and submit for auditing. And eventually what will happen is that auditor will get replaced. And now today you will be knowing almost every company is having an ERP, be it SAP, Innovation, or there are n number of customized ERPs. So if you can't afford, if you can't change, then you will be changed. I'll just narrate two incidents. All of you will be knowing this Nokia. So Nokia was one of the leading mobile phone manufacturer back those days. So owning a Nokia was pride for all of us. And then came Android. And those days Nokia was reluctant to change to Android, and they was a little suspicious. But Samsung saw this as an opportunity and quickly reacted. And the rest is history. Now Samsung is one of the largest manufacturers of mobile phones, and Nokia is nowhere to be seen. Again, how many of you use this camera roll for taking pictures? Some of the old members, I have used this in the 90s and 2000s. Those days, digital cameras was not that popular. So we used to take pictures from film rolls and develop these pictures. And two of the major players were Kodak and Fuji. So there's a duopoly going on there, and they will be enjoying. They were enjoying good profit also. But in that mid 2000s, the digital cameras was become more affordable and popular. But in this instance, both Kodak and Fuji reacted quickly. Kodak actually managed to capture a lot of this digital camera market. But the real issue was, it was an already crowded market with Nikon, Canon, Panasonic, all those major players was there. And as a result of this, their bottom line started to bleeding. And in the end, Kodak failed.
But on the other hand, Fuji realized this early. So what they did was they do their R&D and they found out that the technology they were using to develop photo prints were actually useful for developing LCD panels. And the chemicals used to process these photos was actually good for building collagen. That's a cosmetic. So Fuji, what they did was they diversified their business. That's how they diversified into LCD panels and cosmetics. Eminent speakers gathered here. And it's up to you to either you can adapt and acquire these skills or somebody else will replace you. I hope all of you will have a good takeaway from today's sessions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the informative speech. Next, we have the release of Jain Icon 2023 souvenir. May I request Dr. K. Srikumar and Dr. K. Raviraman on stage for this. May I request Professor Dr. Paritosh Basu also on the stage.
Transfer of knowledge from the university to the client. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, dear dignitaries. May I now request the organizing secretary of Jain Icon 2023, Ms. Veena Verma, for the vote of thanks of our inaugural session.
Yeah, good morning, and thank you, Nisha. So please indulge me for a few minutes as I, on behalf of the organizers, go about appreciating the many people who made this conference happen. First of all, we are thankful to Dr. Chandraj Roychand, the vibrant chancellor of Jain deemed to be University, who spared his time to be here on all, on both days. But due to a certain unfortunate turnout of events, he could not be here with us. My heartfelt thanks goes out to our guest of honor, Mr. Ahmad Al Sheikh, who also inaugurated the function. Unfortunately, he could not be here with us owing to some urgent professional commitment. We are extremely thankful to the patrons for the overwhelming support they extended to us in making this happen. Our Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Raj Singh, for being exceptionally supportive of us. Our Pro Vice Chancellor, Dr. Jay Leta, who in fact, support us in everything that we do. Who's always open to any new idea that we might have. Dr. Madhu Kumar, Dr. Sati Kumar, who are here. So all our other patrons as well. We extend a heartfelt thanks to all the distinguished speakers who have flown from within the country and around the world to join us here today. After a while of frequent emailing, then phone calls, physical and virtual meetings, I feel it feels so great to see you all together here in one space. Also, I extend my heartfelt thanks to our track chairs, co-chairs, the review committee, all the authors, and all other delegates who took their time to be here today. A big thank you to our joint organizing partners, the Institute of Cost Accountants of India and the Confederation of Indian Industry for their insights and their sincere involvement in the program till date. We would like to thank our sponsors whose enthusiasm and support has allowed so many of us to come together in this endeavor for knowledge dissemination and enhancement. And the success of any conference depends on the efforts of many people. So we are grateful to the Conference Advisory Board for their constant, continuous guidance and support. And especially, for putting up with the frequent communications from our side regarding the planning and conduct of the conference. We also express our warm appreciation to the many people who worked hard to put this conference together. The convener, Professor Dr. K. Sri Kumar, this conference was his brainchild. And the co-convener, Dr. Kannan Balakrishnan, my fellow organizing secretary, and members of the organizing committee for their committed efforts in making this conference happen. A big thank you to all the technical staff, the non-teaching staff, and the student volunteers, without whom this would never have been possible. So once again, thank you everyone and for joining us here. And I wish you a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Veena. We will now have a tea break, and the plenary sessions will begin over here at the same venue after 10 minutes. Thank you. Tea has been served. Kindly join us.
Okay, thank you.
SC, economy, adjunct faculty, and Women's University and IMQ, senior doctors, facility consulting, private limited Mumbai. We will give a address on the topic human and ethical dimensions of digital transformation. Welcome, sir. Process of the FCA, adjunct faculty, and Women's University and IMK. Senior directors, facility consulting, private limited Mumbai. Key address on the topic human and ethical dimensions of digital transformation. Welcome, sir.
Can you have these two headlights down? These two headlights. Okay. Thank you. Am I audible at the end? Thank you very much indeed. Respected dignitaries present in this hall, respected professors, my dear students, and ladies and gentlemen. It has been indeed my privilege to be this morning with you. Albeit we started with a bit of a sad note, but I think knowledge overtakes everybody. Knowledge overtakes everything in this world. And I had chosen, in the context of today's program and the theme, something which I spoke internationally in various places, and it's very core to my heart, as digital transformation, but I'll talk on the human and ethical dimensions of it. I'll be using a lot of, can you reduce the screen, please?
If we reduce it, we can't change that. We have to change it.
Okay. I'll be using a lot of graphics which are not of mine. I acknowledge the contributions of the various graphic designers who have contributed it, and I'm confirming that it's not for any commercial purpose. What you see in the screen are a lot of my writings and the book which I have written on digital transformation, and my various presentations will be having from those 41 articles I've written so far on digital area. I will be leaving a lot of questions in your mind. The best way to catch me is through LinkedIn. I have about 18,200 plus connections in LinkedIn. So any question, I'll be just a message away from you. You can also get through to my personal YouTube channel, which is there, or you can connect me through Twitter also. I've just 4 things to talk to you, and which are there in the agenda point. And I'm sure it's not time for me to give a huge thesis type lecture. So I'll be leaving just points in your mind. And please connect me through LinkedIn and ask me questions there. So what are the imperatives of digital transformation? And anything which doesn't cause good to humanity, anything which doesn't bring smile to humanity's face, I don't think that's good for us. I belong to a refugee family, and we had our struggle of life. When the humanity is struggling, and if we say that digital transformation is to reduce struggle of human being, then it should bring smile. So we should be careful about ethical and human dimensions of digital transformation. Whether we like it or don't like it, digital technologies have touched our life and touched the way of living our life. At the center of it, it is people, and the process or tools are causing the change. From an entity's perspective, digital transformation is the integration of digital technology into the core of an entity's function, from hierarchical tools and from operations to customer service. I'll deal with it in much detail a little later. So from the perspective of humanity, what are the cornerstone of digital transformation? The first is well-being. Obviously, we should have our independence of thinking. We should have our growth. There should be inclusive smile. There should be inclusive happiness. There should be inclusive finance. So it should be shared value creation. Safety, security, it need not be overemphasized. I should be owner of my own data. So blockchain should be the solution which should be mostly applied. Everything you do as a digital transformer, you should be accountable to me as a common man of India and common man under the sun anywhere in the world, and finally trust. So whatever we do through digital transformation, as Mr. Nagesh Babu was talking about, we do 2 things in this world. One, either we do minimization of value destruction, or we do maximization of value creation, right? These are the 2 ways of doing anything in this world. Value destruction taking place anywhere and everywhere in this world. You can see we are having half a liter of water. It should have been at least 250 or 200 liter of ml of water, because we are not consuming the full bottle anytime. So minimization of value destruction and maximization of value creation should be the call for the day. Now, when we do any digital solution design, in this side of the story, we delivered the digital solution through ICT, information and communication technology. Now, when we do delivery through ICT, we call it internet. So we have a people where there are our customers and stakeholders. We have internet of ideas, we call it innovation. We have internet of data. Either we collect data from you, we give it data to you, or we generate the data. And finally, we have internet of things. The phone is your internet of things. Your refrigerator will be now smart refrigerator. You should not give order to big basket. Your refrigerator will order in future. And your refrigerator will be an internet of things in future. So essentially, when people are there and digital technology will there, the next thing which will come in the play is behavior. So there will be internet of behavior. Like Google captures what you write in Facebook, right? So in that context, when you bring that context to business, we as common people under the sun, we look for trust, shared value proposition, value experience, ease of adoption and application, and sustainability. That's what we common people look for. What business looks for? Business looks for their own business operations. customer, product, teamwork, promotion, development, budget, and analysis. Now, all these things, what business does, the uniting thread of all these things is strategy. But in today's world, only strategy doesn't work. What works is ability to create and implement agile strategy. That's why I've coined a new word called stragility. Ability to create agile strategy and implement the same. So that is what you will be doing by designing digital solutions. Okay? Now this is a OECD guideline because government also is going for digital transformation. And this OECD guideline also applies to us in business. We have 3 pillars as per OECD. One is good governance, effectiveness, and efficiency. When governance intersects with efficiency, we get reliability, participation, focus on citizens' need, and public value. When governance intersects with effectiveness, you get openness, transparency, accountability, and autonomy. When efficiency intersects with effectiveness, you get empowerment, evidence, demand management, and personalization. So, when you do digital transformation, the 12 elements one must keep in matter. Either you are a customer, recipient of digitally transformed value services, or a creator of value through digital transformation. These 12 elements are fundamentally very important. Sorry, I caught cold. I was in Dhanbad for a similar conference, so I'll be talking a bit slowly, though I'll try to rush first. So what is digital transformation? Digital transformation essentially has got 4 elements. The first element is, of course, your ability to think, your ability to innovate. I call it innovent, innovative invention for value creation. And finally, the word is invention. So if you do that, the other day somebody was asking me, I think, sir, Tally is also digital transformation. In Tally, you don't put digital transformation work. You put a transaction to process, right? So Tally is perhaps the first step of digitization. I'll take a very simple example to explain to you the whole thing here and whole thing here. You need a loan. You go to any bank site, take StateBI site, you do an application to their portal. If SBI downloads it physically and processes physically, the portal is only the first stage of digital transformation, that is digitization. What is digitalization? Digitalization is if the entire processing of the transaction is done by accessing the system, all approval, all processing, all document viewing, even approval triggering a check payment and directly credited to a savings bank account or your supplier's payment account, that's digitalization. That is, the operation is now digitalized. Now, what is digital transformation? When it is done up to that, people think we have done digital transformation. The answer is no. Digital transformation takes place when you create new business, either by diversification of your business or entirely creating a new business by digitalization of systems and processes. Example, suppose you are going to buy an Apple phone. You are now in the Amazon website. They have created an e-commerce website, which is digitalization. The moment you are about to check out, a notice pops up, would you like to take loan? If you say yes, you will be directed to HDFC's website. HDFC's website is now robotic process automated. That means all policies, systems, processes, RBI rules, interest rate, everything has been given into that robotic process automation because it's a repetitive job. In 5 minutes' time, the RPS system transforms your application into a loan and it gets credited to Amazon.com, and you get your phone delivered. In the process, HDFC has created a new business opportunity by digitalization of their system. They have not stopped at digitalization. They have transformed the business. It's a new set of business. No advertisement is required for that. It is a business which coming out of nothing by just a pop-up. That's what is digital transformation. But digital transformation, if you use it as a lipstick project, it's not good for you. Lipstick project means Me Too syndrome. Dusre bhi karte, I should also do. Or it's not a destination, it's a journey, because technology is changing almost every month. So, when you think of digital transformation, you do three things. You might have not heard this word called disruption. What is disruption? Destructive disruption. When you do disrupt the systems and processes of your existing competitor and deliver value with an advantage shared with your customer, you call it disruption. But a simple phone, when it rules out commercial camera, amateur camera, phone also takes out the torch industry, then what you have done? You have done destructive disruption, that's right. You have destructed certain products. And next you do disruption. What is disruption? In a simplistically manner, stop me, give me a buzz up before 10 minutes. Huh? What is disruption? Meru came, previous evening he used to give a phone call or a mail, and they used to send you a car. The process got disrupted. 10 minutes before you open your phone and book a car. After that, they brought a wallet. You don't carry your cash, you pay through your wallet. That's called disruption. So digital transformation should not only come from disruption, it should come from disruption and disruption. So these are the benefits. For yourself, you can look at it. Which we as the beneficiary of digital transformation receive. So essentially it's a boon for humanity, is that right? But if it's a boon for humanity, the mindset of both humanity has to change and mindset of business has to change, because that HDFC Bank has been given a capability enabler, right? You don't have to market your product. Amazon is marketing your product. You have got a strategic pillar and you have got motivational measures through the digital transformation system. I don't want to explain this slide. It will take about half an hour to talk about this. What I'm talking about from the perspective of such a powerful enabler that is technology, using it, mindset is very important. And that's what is here. Digital transformation does not take away your business. You are in the same business, either cement or lending or anything. Essentially, if the digital transformation strategy of yours does not align with your vision, mission, culture, and long-term business strategy, howsoever money you spend and whatsoever you do, you will fail. Because at the end of the day, digital transformation does not change your business. It changes your process of doing business. It helps you to create new lines of business. That's most important for us to understand. So, every time you take a digital transformation process, which is not a destination or a lipstick or a nail polish, but it's a journey, you should always speak about what essentially are the alignment taking place with my digital transformation strategy versus what is my business strategy. What is my vision and mission? Where do I want to reach, of which technology is my enabler? Okay, so this is a BFSI sector digital transformation model for transformation. One side of the model is value, other side of the model is trust. Essentially, you need knowledge. Technology is the enabler. Okay, now, if we depend on this, how do you create your value? By knowledge, your product, and your pricing. How do you create trust? By behavioral traits, ethics, which is the hardcore of my presentation, people-centric process, responsiveness, and fair treatment. When all these things converge into a solution design, what the customer gets is a value experience. So digital transformation has to give your customer a wonderful value experience. And that value experience should be shared. Okay? So the business is now getting converged to ESG, environmental, social, and governance. All these things we talk, but we forget DEI. What is DEI? Diversity, equity, and inclusion. What is important? All of this, we are good, we are very efficient talk about ESG. But do you think of a Kerala girl going up to about 100 meters up to get the broadband and attend the class? Digital divide, right? I saw that picture. So that digital transformation, when you do a solution, think with how much broadband it will guzzle, how much electricity it will guzzle. I'm India's top 50 blockchain influencer, recognized by the India Blockchain Forum, and a top 50 negative cryptocurrency influencer. Why am a negative cryptocurrency influencer? Because I feel cryptocurrency is not going to do any good to humanity. Let it be a playing ball of fire for people who are filthy rich. So my point is, think of diversity, think of equity, and think of inclusion. Now this is a hardcore of the slide. Give me 10 minutes buzz. Huh? Okay. Done? Okay, 10 minutes? I'll finish in 10 minutes. You have three domains of your digital transformation: physical domain, cognitive domain, and information domain. I don't want to explain that. Physical domain, when it cuts the cognitive domain, you get technoethics. Information domain and physical domain gives you information ethics. And finally, you get the computational ethics. When these three cross each other, you get the robotic ethics, computer ethics, and computational ethics. All these six ethics together gives you the digital ethics. So digital ethics is not very easy to understand. You understand where you are in this map. When you do this, you have to be in the domain of quadrennium of thinking. What is quadrennium of thinking? Your critical thinking, objective analysis and evaluation, your strategic thinking, approaching the fundamental driver. You have to understand that I have to be a friend of a telephone buyer and give him a friendly hand the moment he checks out after buying the phone. Finally, you have to go to design thinking. And the design thinking most important is something you do should be instantly found to be different than what your competitors do. So you should be little non-traditional. And the radical thinking, you have to go to the deep-rooted position of it. Unless you know the past, unless you know the genesis of the problem, you will not be able to do radical thinking. When you do radical thinking, you have to get into the right side of your brain. Because if you have to be human-oriented, if you have to be ethics-oriented, you have to be compassion-oriented, if you have to be empathy-oriented, then you have to use your right side of the brain. I'm requesting you to read this. Humanity is generally very good in left side of the brain. When we are too much dependent on the left side of the brain, we forget to use the right side of the brain and we do something which is digitally non-ethical. And that's what this cryptocurrency has happened to the world. So, the risk management, when you do digital analysis, digital thinking, you will be sure that you are putting your customer into risk and putting your business into risk. And if you do this kind of solution designing, you'll fail. If you do only protect your external environment, your outer periphery of the organization, you will fail. If you don't identify people management, which is perhaps the weakest point of your link, you will fail. Your organizational structure, if it is not ready, you will fail. So digital transformation first requires transformation of your organization. And you are the harbinger of the transformation going forward, because you have to carry this message from this conference that we are here to transform ourselves first. And then we'll transform the organization, remaining within its vision and mission. So essentially, this is something which you will not get in any book. This is my own creation. I don't want to discuss this. It is called 8WH, Principle of Solution Designing, which is essentially, when I talk to techies, I'll talk to you about these points. This lady is a professor of United Nations Human Rights Council Geneva member and a professor of Stanford University. This lady talked about bias, discrimination, and loss of accountability. So, when you go for digital transformation, you have to understand these 5 articles of United Nations Human Rights UDHR Declaration of 1942, most probably 48, which was adopted by 193 countries in their constitutions. So my last 2 slides are like this. Technology does not have morality, emotion, compassion, ethics, and value generation skill of its own. The technologists have it. Success of digital transformation will depend upon those human qualities of solution builders leaving least possible scope for people of ulterior motives to use technology for their benefits. World is one place and people are staying in world nation. So there should be a concept of universal neutrality and there should be a concept of universal altruism. So if you have to follow the concept of universal altruism, you have to follow the concept of inclusive smile and growth and happiness. You have 7 T's, which is my prescription. I did it in Moscow. I said technology, talent, truth, trust, transparency, and tenacity and timeline. If these 7 T's are to be achieved, what are your people-centric prescriptions? People, patience, passion, perseverance, piety, purity, and penance. So these 7 T's and 7 P's, when they merge together, you get the perfect technology combination. So this gentleman said, man and machine together will bring it. Only machine and technology can't bring it. So this is my 10th commandment. You will not get it in a book, it's my creation. Humanity first. Reduce complexities. Reimagine consumption. Go for creative destruction. Manage climate emergency. Redistribute power and wealth. Be accountable without discrimination. Fix imbalance of humanity and technology. Enhance technology with universal altruism. Let imagination and ethics lead transformation. So Albert Einstein said, I fear the day that technology will surpass our human interaction. The world will have a generation of idiots. I don't know whether he really said this. Let's not allow technology to make us idiot, because let us always stay ahead of technology. That's the beauty of it. And being a boy from Calcutta and West Bengal, I can't stop without quoting Gurudev. I slept and dreamt life was joy. I awoke and saw that life was service. I acted and behold that service was joy. So my request to all of you that you should give service to the nation and that should be your source of joy. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, sir. Now I invite Professor Dr. Sri Kumar to present the memento to Professor Dr. Paritosh Basu.
And now, for the keynote address on the topic Future-Proofing Higher Educational Institutions, I invite Mr. V.P. Nandakumar, MD and CEO of Malappuram Finance Limited. Welcome, sir.
Experts and panel of eminent people who are assembled here, professors of Jain University, and all the attendees. So we have heard of wonderful presentation on very important topics. I am going to talk to you from the angle of an entrepreneur. But I should think what is important going forward. First of all, let me share with you some of the digital initiatives, what we believe, which has helped our organization. Malappuram Finance and its subsidiaries have got around 5,200 offices across the country with more than 45,000 employees. They are recruited locally, and that those recruited will have to be trained. And you know the attrition at the current level, around 2 to 3% attrition. So around 40% annually there is a churn. We have found that to be a big challenge. So one initiative what we have done is how to train these employees digitally. These employees recruited at the grassroots level are graduates. So we have developed an online program where they can be developed. We took the help of technology is also available, whatever is available, and through proctoring and screening, etc. That has we have made it possible to a great extent. Another is our initiative in digital office, because many of our employees will be in the field, and the lockdown also have come during this thing, how people can work from anywhere. That also, and also we have done it And also using mobility solution, now our employees can work from anywhere, even using mobile. I'm not going into the detail, but if anybody wants to have a discussion, after this I'm willing to have that. And another is we have initiated this online gold loan, 24 hours from anywhere. They can take the loan, they can repay the loan, everything online, from anywhere, 24 hours. And another is our completely indigenously, locally developed, our own people have developed the 24-hour personal loan. These are the 4 initiatives what we have done. Because after listening to the professor, what I thought, yes, this was coming to my mind. So, about the future, what I feel is the need of industry academic association is very, very important. He is also a professor in IIM Kozhikode, and I am on the board of governors of IIM Kozhikode. After my joining, I will share with you, I told Professor Chatterjee, there is the need of a course designed for the financial services sector in India. And he has taken the initiative, and he has often consulted me also. And we have developed a course called MSc Finance. And this MSc Finance, I am very glad the first batch of students are already out. The placement department has told me in the last board meeting, the average salary they were recruited was around 36 lakhs. And the highest salary was 60 lakhs. So we are very happy. So something I want to discuss about here about the industry, what is happening outside India. In Japan, day before yesterday, I was in discussion with one Dr. Jagakrishnan, who is an IIT professor, IIT Madras professor, and who had been the vice chancellor of Kerala University. He says there is no MBA in Japan. He worked there for up to 2012. Till that time, there is no MBA. In Japan, the engineering colleges, what I understand is, yes, these are promoted, these are for specific institutions. There is no such thing. If it is an automobile technology, yes, this will be promoted by, for example, automobile companies. Automobile companies, Suzuki, they will promote. So the way they are trained, what I understand is, they are initially, these workers are initially trained, these young people are initially trained and given certificate in, for example, denting. Then those people at some stage wanted to be supervisors. They go for diploma. The institution itself is providing that. Then degree or PG or plus. So they become experts. A mason, after certificate course, here ITI, Industrial Training Institutes, become mason, then supervisory level, yes, civil engineer, whatever it is, they have specialization. These are done by construction companies. So the expertise they have. Something what I am reminded of is, I was in Israel along with a team of water scientists, water management scientists. I was a part of the CIA team, deputed by CIA, and we had water management scientists also to study about the water management there. We have gone to an institute there to know about water management there. You know that Israel, there is no, in sometimes they are getting meager rain, maybe an intermittency or frequency of some 18 months or 1 year, etc., etc. So they are getting that they are drinking water, yes, through desalination of seawater. So how do they manage? Even you know that toilet water, everything is slurry, everything is used, cleaned up, yes, disinfected. Then these are used for the agriculture. So even with that scarcity, they didn't face any disruption of water supply during the last, what I am told is at that point it was 17 years. No water disruption. So we have seen how a robot, I have gone back 6 years back. So a robot is used which goes into the system and they use the various techniques, etc., to understand, to predict where there can be a disruption and that is repaired in advance. So I was working, when I was there, I was working in a beach. Then I got a call from, somebody was calling me from the back. It's uncle. Then who is calling me uncle in Israel? When I was working working through the beach. I know he must be an Indian. So then I saw two boys coming very fast to me in the beach. Then I told them, I asked them why you are there, these boys. They told, yeah, we are studying in IIT Mumbai. And for our project, we have come over here for the last 1.5 months, we are here. So I asked them, why did you choose this small country? You could have gone to developed large countries like US, etc., etc. But what they told is, yes, to get a project in Israel is more difficult than getting a project in US. They say, then I asked them why, etc., etc. They said, the engineering institutes, colleges here are better than the best of IITs in India. Why? They said, yes. These are, first of all, the students' recruitment system as a whole. As I said, I talked about Japan, the same way. The basic level of training and need-based upgradation of their skill, etc. We had an experience during this COVID break. We want to develop something in blockchain, artificial intelligence, etc. Then some professor in a local engineering college, he said, yes, he can do it. He has some experience. And we have given few projects to the local college. Then they have been there, etc., etc. And what I understand is nothing came out which are useful to us. Even though we paid money to the local engineering college, our people also have worked. We have a team of around 1,200 IT engineers with us as employees. But what he told me last week, the chairman of the college, yes, thank you so much. Even though we know that the project you have given was not that good, our people didn't complete it. But all those who are engaged there immediately on completion, they have been recruited by TCS. They were the toppers. The reason is they got some practical inputs into what they have learned. So what is the need of the hour is the practical orientation towards this. This MSc Finance is very designed to suit the purpose of financial services sector. And these people are recruited. So In our company, we have a program in association with BITS Pilani, Birla Institute of Technology Pilani. Our employees can work here in various streams. They can also take their online courses and appear for the exam here, and BITS Pilani will award certificates, degree certificates. BTech, MTech, in various streams of technology, not only IT technology. So what they have found is the experience in an organization in a specific field is more justifiable than a pure university training. You look at in the medical science here, DNB, offered by the National Institute. It is treated as equivalent to MD or MS courses or even higher level courses of like DM or MCH. Are the students trained by this hospital and appeared for the exam, their quality is inferior? What I am told is their quality is similar at least, if not better. So many of the things, what is happening abroad may not be practical here. But what we should look at, the courses shall be designed, courses of the future shall be designed by the academics and the industry sitting together to suit the need of the industry or business. Now, we are moving through the digital era, the digitalization. We are fast progressing. In all the areas, we may require this. So, this improves efficiency. And the challenge for India, as we all know, read regularly, we have the demographic dividend of young population. But compared to Japan, where the skilling at the higher level is over 90%, ours is falling around 5%. So to take our economy to grow at double digits, what is the need of skilling people in the right direction and giving the academic that in the right direction? As an entrepreneur who have started from the grassroots, these are some of my thoughts to share before you. Have I taken more time? Within time? Okay. With this, I conclude. Yeah. Any questions, if they permit? And if you want, I am ready for that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I invite Mr. M. Nagesh Babu to present the memento to Mr. V.P. Nandakumar.
Up next, I welcome Professor Dr. M. Jaydev, Professor in Finance and Accounting, IIM Bangalore, for the keynote address on the topic Corporate Distress and Restructuring. Welcome, sir.
Good morning, Professor Sri Kumar, Professor Veena, and all other conference organizing committee members, faculty of Jain University, students, and some professionals and corporate executives who are present here. First of all, congratulate the university for taking this, organizing this wonderful conference for the benefit of students as well as other interested people. And since morning in the inaugural session also I was there here, and I'm listening to the speakers. They all talked about very good things and wide opportunities available for our country to progress in the area of digitalization, and educational opportunities, skill development, and various other things. Being a finance faculty, I'm just trying to alert all of the people that certainly the companies will go on growth path, but at the same time, some companies may fail. There comes the question of distress. So I wish to share a few ideas. I don't claim that all ideas are mine. Certainly in academic ideas, we depend upon the empirical research and well-established facts. So a few things which I would like to present. So hope I will not take too much time and will share it with you. Professor Kumar was asking about turnaround and restructuring. So before that, I have added distress. Then I'm coming to this. No? Or you operate it, no problem. Yeah, you just go to next slide. Okay, it doesn't matter. Even the slides are doesn't work. Also, you can get it afterwards, and I can speak. No problem. What is a distress situation? Distress situation is a company is operationally weak, unable to generate the adequate cash flows, especially to meet the interest and loan obligations of the company. Even there may not be any interest and loan obligations also, then also companies are becoming distressed because many of the startups are, they don't have any debt also, but they don't have even cash flows also, or their expenses are exceeding the positive cash flows, so they have the negative EBITDA and subsequently they fail. So this is what we call it as a distress situation. There could be other type of the definitions also. You can get it. It is there in the slide. You can go through that one. Then what happens after the distress happens? The company would be closed down. Many employees will lose opportunities. Suppliers and customers associated with that company will also become disappointed, and they may not be in a position to continue their relationship with the company. So these are that is the various measures are there, which you can look into that books. These things are available. So for managers, it is imperative that they have to identify the right types of the preventive measures when they recognize that the firm is in distress. If the preventive measures are not identified, managers try to give. Managers doesn't mean that managers at the lower level or middle level. Managers includes the CEO also. My point is, when I say manager, manager includes the CEO or CFOs or also top level management also. When they don't identify, they try to mask it, or they try to please to the shareholders or board meetings without giving the proper information. Then the firm will continue like that, and after that situation will become very serious, and it will go to intensive care unit, and there is no other way after it will be liquidation or resolution. And recently, last 4 years, 5 years, we have been experiencing, India is experiencing various cases of the resolution and or liquidation. In some of the cases through IBC, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Act, cases where it is filed with the NCLT, the recovery for the financial creditors is 60% or 40% or 30%. In some cases, even it is less than 10%. When financial creditors are getting less than that one, forget about what operational creditors will get or other employees will get. And shareholders, nobody bothered about shareholders. Many shareholders have lost their money. So this is where situation is for managers have to take the step. Then some restructuring opportunities are to be identified. For investors, firms engaging in distress, motivated, restructuring shows signs of performance and improvement. They come out positively with the inclusion of the capital, additional capital. And for policy makers, this is very much important. Government is the ultimate risk manager in any country. If you look, if there was COVID and government has come out with a restructuring package for MSMEs or SMEs, small and medium level enterprises, saying that additional loan is to be provided or additional facilities are to be given. And even the loan servicing is weak, it should not be considered as non-performing asset. It should be continued to be shown as a standard asset for a specific period. Moratorium periods are given. So this is all the risk being taken over by the government. And in a political economy, these are some of the times, sometimes these are opportunities for the parties, the power party, and this may affect the economy also. Too much risk taking will affect the economy because so many guarantees of the loans, micro loans are guaranteed, educational loans are guaranteed, MSME loans are guaranteed. Yes, this is the ultimate higher absorption of the risk by the government itself. So policy makers also, it is a serious issue that if the corporate sector is in distress, it will affect the economy as a large scale. And let's just look some of the companies which I am looking on the 2 days back on the quarterly results, latest quarterly results of some companies. The increase in sales is not a double digit. It is not only for two companies, it is a very substantial increase is there within 1 year. Sales have gone up, gross profit is gone up, and net profit has also gone up, which clearly shows that these company managers must have done some corrective steps and they must have devised the operational strategies to improve their performance. Like that, if you look a year back also, couple of companies, 25 firms approximately have increased their sales substantially, and here indicator is the stock market performance. It is not just accounting indicator, but the market performance have also substantially increased for these type of the companies after the restructuring. So these are all the companies which have not gone to court and said that we are insolvent or bankrupt, or somebody has not pulled them to the court and made them to be bankrupt. Before that itself, they have identified the distress problems, distress symptoms, and have taken the corrective steps to make the companies viable. Then one theory which comes from the academic side, which is everyone knows life cycle theory, it is not a great thing. And life cycle is every firm experiences a birth stage, growth stage, and a maturity stage, and also subsequently the product or the firm will decline also. This is quite common for product life cycle, which you are learning in the marketing management and other type of the academic courses. So what is this? These companies are very small, birth stage companies are, which are many startups, many people enthusiastically out of their to take their entrepreneurship and risk-taking ability, they start these companies, they start the businesses, and they get the money from the family or friends or relatives and all that one. And then they are the dominated owners. Owner is the manager, manager is the owner. So such type of the businesses are very small firms which are in birth stage. And these firms face significant uncertainty over the future growth and which manifests to higher book-to-market ratios. Of course, book-to-market ratio is if it is a company is listed, but even if it is not listed also, it will experience the negative cash flows and corrective measures are required for this type of the companies. Then comes to the growth stage, typically medium-sized companies with multiple shareholders and achieving the growth. We can see that before COVID, many companies have shown their many companies have positive performance, they have shown our positive outlook they had. But unfortunately, due to COVID, I being observed in the Bangalore, couple of malls are closed after the COVID. Malls are closed means it is not only just the shops are closed, businesses are lost, it is a loss of employment and even loss of support services also for the who are supporting that one. There may be people who are engaged with the parking of the mall, people may be engaged with the support services in the malls and all that they have to find out the alternate employment. These are growth stage companies which have faced this one, and mature stage companies also face this. And subsequently in the declining stage, that means the companies which we are seeing financial creditors, banks and financial institutions approach the court of law and ask their money, that is almost a declining stage. We have several companies like that. So four type of the classification strategies, four type of the restructuring strategies are appropriate to various types of the companies. These are first is operational strategies, second level is managerial strategies, and third is asset restructuring, and fourth is financial restructuring. Currently, what is being reported mostly in newspaper is financial restructuring is reported. We may be talking about some people are foregoing about the debt, banks are foregoing about the debt, debt is converted to equity, or equity shareholders have lost their money. All that is financial restructuring. That is no doubt important. But before that, what opportunities are available? Operational restructuring is you are talking about how basically variable cost of goods sold aspects are to be considered, how to improve the sales performance, how to try to make a positive EBITDA. This operational restructuring is many companies are sending their employees layoffs. We are seeing every day news item is one or the other company layoff is there. Layoff is no doubt an operational restructuring measure. They are going to the next level of the technology. That's why they may be laying off the people, or they may be unable to sustain the current manpower with the available revenue. So that is another way of going for the operational restructuring. So these are operational restructuring is restoring the profitability. Basically, profit is to be reported, or at least gross profit is to be reported. And in the subsequent quarters, they have to look for reporting of the operating profit and net profit. This is where this operational restructuring comes. Just two types of the examples, maybe little bit 2 years back examples. These may be I can give. That is, one is Thermox exactly. By downsizing and improving our operational efficiency, we were able to bring down our employee cost from 16% of turnover to less than 7.5% of the turnover. So companies have gone immediately to reduce the employee cost. This is Thermox company, and they are talking about operational restructuring. And if you look the Shopper Stop, most of us must have visited Shopper Stop. And some of the shops, how it has transformed before that and after that. Great time for learning. Our board challenged us to create a recession-proof model that could face the slowdowns. So one of our chief learning from the slowdown was to never compromise on customer experience. So the trading company, which is looking more on the customer experience, this is another way of looking the operational strategies. Asset restructuring is selling away some of the assets, closing down some verticals of the business, and you are looking with reference to several companies, this closing down the verticals, selling underperformance businesses. So you can see that outsourcing the non-core businesses, it may be IT services or other type of the support services, and focusing more on the core services only. This is where asset restructuring is happening. So these are the things which are, it is unprofitable or non-core lines of business are to be restructured, selling the underperforming businesses. These are the things which are relating to the asset restructuring it is. Financial restructuring, it is just now given, it is non-payment of the debt, but banks are agreed to for the lower amount of the debt. Our banks are ready to forego some of the debt into equity. We all know that Kingfisher has faced a lot of distress, and before going for the distress, it has undergone the restructuring also. And many other companies have received the restructuring package by normally regulator or government encourages the restructuring packages, financial restructuring. If there is a financial problem, the government or the regulators come forward and suggest the restructuring packages. But unless asset restructuring or operational restructuring, it doesn't happen, financial restructuring is not going to help. So you can see these are the companies which are under the resolution, but subsequently have become the better companies. Ruchi Soya or Dig Jam, Bafna Pharmaceutical Limited, which is a SME-based medium level enterprise company, which is in the area of the pharma. And of course, Bhushan Steel is know very well a big company, a big elephant. We can say that we are in Kerala, so we can say about elephant certainly. Bhushan Steel is a big elephant, and making that how to dance that elephant is a big challenge. And this is where after the restructuring is happening, this is all relating to the financial restructuring. And as I said, regulator is always interferes with the restructuring, financial restructuring. Kamath committee has been appointed. Subsequently, RBI has given some of the guidelines for restructuring relating to some medium level enterprises, and banks have come forward to provide that restructuring. And also government, there is a policy is also there now, currently regulatory policy, that is a pre-pack insolvency. If you have identified some distress symptoms, you please take up the pre-pack policy. But after the introduction of the pre-pack policy, not many cases are absolutely no cases at all, because the cases are not coming at all. Policy document is there to resolve this one. Or restructuring these things, but I don't know why it is not happening. Probably here some academic people are here, they can think about and they can come out with why it is not attracting and what more is to be required in this area. So these are the various examples we can see with reference to the financial restructurings, managerial restructurings. This is one of the good example I would like to share. Rico India Limited, which is a subsidiary or associate company of the Rico Japan. Rico India has failed not because of financial problems. It has not taken much loan from or no loan from the Indian banks. But it has identified some fraud in their own operations. Accounting fraud is identified. But when the accounting fraud is identified, immediately management has recognized that one. And they have approached the court itself to make the restructuring through the market mechanism. So some resolution is announced, some companies have come forward, and minority shareholders of that company also have come forward to take over this company. This is an excellent example. Minority shareholders come forward to take over that company. Shareholders are taking the risk. They are very small in number, but they have come forward with a package. And subsequently, they have had a collaboration with other Japanese company, and they are working on the various operational restructuring strategies. So we can see a wonderful change in the managerial restructuring of this Rico India. You may call it any other type of the restructuring. It is not, the nomenclature is not important. It is the restructuring and turnaround which is happening in that organization is more important, and which is always a lesson for all business management students. So you please observe what is going to happen to this company in the next couple of years, and look into there, which is being reported on their website, financial results, as well as the other type of the indicators which are given in the market data also. So like that, a transformational organizational structure, it is not just relating to the corporate sector, even the government organizations are also talking about restructuring it. We know that BS Coal India was restructured a couple of years back. Large scale restructuring has happened in Coal India. Railways, I'm giving here the example of railways, Indian Railways, how they are moving forward the restructuring of organization. I know you may be experiencing what IRCTC is providing or what type of the various services available through the railways. Governmental side also restructuring is happening. And one more big elephant is there to be made it to dance is everyone know that is BSNL. So this is also restructuring is required. Maybe probably government may think about and come out with some type of the strategy for that one. Then these are all the things what happens from the research coming out of it. As firms in the birth stage have highly centralized power structure, it is likely that the managers are the owners and they have little external pressure, so they have to restructure it immediately. Here representatives of CIA is there, maybe other federations are also there. So especially the small and medium level enterprises, when they are facing this type of the risk or this type of the symptoms, immediately restructuring is needed from the manager side, from the manager versus owner, both of them are playing the dual role there. So their restructuring is needed, otherwise they will slip over into the, so it may be relating to belt tightening or firefighting or quick win or whatever it is needs to be stabilized. Then distress funds mechanism is available. Currently, India has a very good mechanism, very good framework of insolvency and bankruptcy framework is there. A company can be either the promoters or even the employees, operational creditors or the suppliers. They can approach the court, NCLT, and file an application and ask for and declare that NCLT to declare it as an insolvent company, and then the process starts, resolution process starts. There are good examples of quick resolution with reference to small companies because the stakeholders are limited, and other active entrepreneurs have come or risk takers have come and have resolved that one. This is a financial distress which has quickly addressed by some of these companies. So some of these things are cutting down or omitting dividends, some of these things which are being done. And but what is required is when it is a distress, more about relating to the operating these things, operational restructuring or asset restructuring is needed. This is what more research talks about these things rather than going for the financial distress. So reducing the investment, dividends, and have a positive association with recovery, but this will not go in a long time sustainable one. So reducing the debt. Many companies, Indian corporate sector leverage as an average has come down in general, which indicates that companies are focusing more on how to reduce the financial distress. So there are more strategies, at least 3 strategies are to be adopted. One is operational, either it is asset restructuring, and possibly if it is managerial restructuring. Managerial restructuring is changing of the CEO, CFO, COO, or whatever it is, or top management, and going for that, whatever the speakers have talked about, digitization, which is very much helpful in improving the operational restructuring. Lastly, I will say that we are all going to see what is going to happen to the restructuring of Air India has started. And we will see, we are going to be the eyewitness in the next couple of years that how it is going to restructure and what type of the lessons it is going to offer, not only for the big companies, it is for every managers, what type of the restriction operations strategies are available to restructure it and make the corporate sector or entities a viable unit and healthy units. So this is where I think the bottom line of what I have spoken is identify the distress symptoms, don't cover it or mask it. And COVID has given a very good lesson for individual lifestyle for all of us. And most of our lifestyles have changed. Our way of working has changed. our thinking has changed. Similarly, corporate entities also have to change as per the changes taking place in the market and identify the symptoms at the earliest possible. It is not that debt is available and so take more debt. Banks are ready to come forward because today's the supply of the funds is liquidity is better and supply is there. Banks are looking for opportunities. It's not the situation of 20 years back where banks are ready to come forward. But many companies have to think about how to restructure their operations as our speakers, earlier speakers have given the opportunities available about the digitization and other type of the things, market opportunities. So this is what I thought of sharing with you. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. And if you have anything to be contacted, my email ID is there. Either students or faculty or anybody can send an email and we'll respond within available time. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your expertise with us. It was indeed very informative. Now I welcome Mr. K.L. Lejish to present the memento to Professor Dr. M. Jaydev.
We have one more keynote speaker who has arrived, straight from Paris to Kochi. We cordially welcome Professor Dr. Shri Srivastav, GS1 France Chair from HEC Paris. Welcome to Jain International Conference. He made it possible through a number of interactions on Zoom and phone, and we are very happy that he could make it. He came this morning around 2 a.m. and he'll be there for 2 days. He will be helping us to handhold, particularly after having a very brief discussion with him. Our entire idea of research has changed. I hope that he'll transfer it to all the paper presenters and the research scholars and faculties in his interaction. Thank you.
One announcement, vehicle owner of KL07CX4990, please contact the security.
Next, I would like to introduce Professor Dr. Ranjini Krishnan, Ernst W. and Robert W. Schaberg Chair in Accounting, Broad College of Business, Michigan State University, USA. Unfortunately, ma'am is traveling and will not be joining us physically. We will now listen to her keynote address on the topic, Strategic Management Accounting, Driving Resilience.
Hello, I'm delighted to be joining this session of the Jain International Conference. At the outset, please accept my apologies for not being able to be there in person. I was hoping to travel to India, but some issues came up and now actually my visit got postponed. And the second is I was hoping to be at least there live online, but even that is a problem because at this very moment, I'm actually traveling to India from the US. So it became a bit of an issue about the timing. Nevertheless, I'm really delighted to be sharing with you my views on management accounting and resilience. I'm going to be now sharing my screen so that I can go through the rest of my presentation, which is in the form of PowerPoint video, a PowerPoint presentation. So let me just share my screen here. So the topic of my presentation is strategic management accounting, driving resilience. And I want to begin with this notion of accounting and resilience. What do we mean by resilience? And in this sense, I'm going to talk about financial resilience, which means the ability to face financial pressures imposed by global austerity, financial shocks, and economic crisis. And financial resilience is critical for the competitive advantage of any company. Resilience requires that organizations anticipate and circumvent threats to their continued existence. Accounting systems can provide the capacity to absorb financial stress and recover from unexpected crises through appropriate measurement and control practices. So the first issue I'm going to talk about is how can accounting facilitate decision making both in stable times and in a crisis? Is existing accounting systems decision facilitating information capability optimal? Will it hold up in terms of times of duress? Can accounting information help reshape an organization? Are organizational resources allocated well? Can accounting help in reappropriation if there's a sudden major disruption? And do accounting and control systems facilitate building employee resilience? So in this regard, I want to talk about the multiple roles of accounting information in building resilience throughout the value chain. So what is accounting used for? Well, it's used for many things. One is within the firm to resolve what we call agency conflicts between the owners and managers. It's useful across firms to resolve inter-firm conflicts. It's useful in the market to determine prices and values. And it is useful to within contracting parties to resolve property rights. So in all these roles, accounting has to provide good quality information about the underlying economics of the firm. And what do we mean by good quality, by a good quality accounting measure? Well, a good quality accounting measure has to reflect the economic reality of a company. And the problem that we have in building resilient management accounting systems is that very often accounting measures do not reflect economic reality, which is what they're supposed to do. But they don't do that. Instead, they have a lot of measurement error, which is because of poor quality accounting systems, and they have bias, which is deliberate actions of managers. So the point here is that accounting measure has to reflect economic reality, but unfortunately, in the construction of resilient accounting systems, organizations sometimes overlook the fact that accounting systems can be poor quality and that managers can add bias to these systems. So in terms of building accounting systems, what are the things that make it hard to design good quality accounting systems? So within these factors, there are sociological factors, psychological factors, regulatory factors, and economic factors. And I'm going to talk about these factors in greater detail soon. All these factors add to measurement error and they add to bias, which makes an accounting system not well equipped to reflect economic reality, which is a huge handicap during a time when resilience is required by an organization. So what are some of the hazards that arise in terms of building good quality resilient accounting systems? The first hazard is measurement error. Measurement error arises from inadequate understanding of things like cost behavior, hidden costs, capacity costs, and mental models. The second hazard is inadequate understanding of bias. And the third hazard is inadequate understanding of behavioral drivers of accounting system design. And all these comprise some of the major hazards to building resilient accounting systems. Let's first talk about the first hazard, which is measurement error. Why does measurement error arise? Well, one is, of course, you just design a poor quality accounting system because of, you don't invest enough time in designing the accounting system. The second issue is intentional. That is, you really do not care about disaggregate numbers. And so you just, you just say this much is enough. So kind of like a carelessness in design of accounting systems. And then you disregard, for example, opportunity costs because you have a very external or shareholder mentality. So your financial accounting mentality may make you design accounting systems that are not resilient. And the third is unintentional. That is, you do not understand the problems that can arise with respect to error. So these are some of the reasons that managers in firms can end up designing poor quality accounting systems which are not resilient. So some examples of measurement error that I'm going to provide next, based on my own research. These relate to, as I mentioned, cost behavior, hidden costs, capacity costs, and mental models. Let me begin with cost behavior. So the way we think about costs, the textbooks and the way they present costs, is that total cost is the sum of fixed costs and variable costs. And we have this concept or this notion that we teach our students also, and this is how textbooks are written, which is that you have some measure of output here in the x-axis, and so that's the x-axis gives you the output, and the y-axis gives you the cost, total cost, and the total cost is in some senses basically just comprised of two components: fixed costs that do not change with the level of output, and variable costs that change with the level of output, and total cost is the sum of these two. Now, the problem here is this is a very simplistic understanding of cost, and costs never, if ever, behave like this. Instead, there is a lot of empirical evidence that cost behavior, for example, is asymmetric. What do we mean by asymmetric? This was a very famous article written by Mark Anderson, Rajiv Banker, and Janaki Raman in the Journal of Accounting Research in 2003, which showed that if you just parse through this particular let me just show this let me just show in a spotlight here. So one moment here. So let me just point this out. So so let us say that this dotted blue line is a traditional understanding of costs. That when activity level changes, some costs, like in this case, I have selling, general and administrative, SGA costs go up in a linear manner. So this research showed that costs do not go up in a linear manner at all. Instead, when activity goes from a T-1 level to a T level, if costs increase, let's say by 0.55% for a 1% increase in activity level, if costs go up by 0.55% for an equal decrease in the activity level, 1% decrease, costs only go down by 30.35. So there is a stickiness to cost decline, and this has nothing to do with variable costs or fixed costs. For the same level of capacity, costs increase more when activity increases, and they decrease less when activity decreases. So this is known as an asymmetric cost adjustment. Change in cost for increase in volume is different from the change in cost when there is a decrease in volume. So they said that it's necessary to distinguish between downward and upward cost elasticity. So what does this arise from? Why do we have this asymmetric cost behavior? Many reasons. One is assumptions about future demand. Managers usually think that in the future, demand is going to increase, and if there is a decrease, it's going to be temporary. And so managers also make trade-offs. That is, if you cut back something, let's say that if you let go of workers, if you have layoffs, it's really hard to hire new workers and train them again. So the expected cost of slack capacity, that is holding on to these workers when you don't need them, versus foregone revenues, if suddenly there is an increase back in volume, then it might be hard to replace these skilled workers. So those are some of the reasons that have been put forward, and they factor in downward and upward capacity adjustment costs. So they realize that hiring people is very expensive, we have to retrain them. And so that is one of the reasons. The other reason is an agency problem. That is, managers like to empire build. They like large companies instead of small companies. So they don't want to let go of anything. And so that's the other thing. So now in one of my own research, I tried to open this black box of cost behavior. So I looked at, do firms increase the flexibility of their cost structure in response to two important risk drivers. I looked at demand uncertainty and I looked at financial risk. And I looked at how is the change in cost structure achieved. Is this change mediated by resource procurement costs like outsourcing, leasing versus purchase of equipment, and increasing contract labor? And this is a paper that I have listed here with my colleagues Martin Holzacker and Matthias Mehendorf. What we looked at is three things that drive asymmetric cost behavior. One is outsourcing. So for example, by outsourcing, what do? You can make your fixed cost variable, right? Instead of like having in-house your capability, now you transfer it to a vendor. And so now you're made your cost, a variable. So you just have to pay the vendor whenever you power by the hour type of contracts. The second thing that we looked at is leasing versus buying. A lease can be terminated after a certain period of time, and flexible contractual agreements can be made. Lease payments can be made on asset utilization basis. And we looked at contract labor, that is short-term contracts that allow firms to make labor resource adjustments costs compared to long-term contracts. So this was our model, and what we found is firms change their cost behavior, that is their cost structures, through these three choices: outsourcing, leasing versus buying, and increasing contract labor. And the drivers of these, we looked at demand uncertainty and financial risk, which are two very big important things that are drivers that push companies to think about resilience. When you think of resilience, the handicaps to resilience, or things that really make companies struggle with lack of resilience, are these two factors: demand uncertainty and financial risk. And we found that those two factors make companies look and change their cost system and make some changes to their resource procurement choices, and this influences their cost behavior. The second hazard I'm going to talk about is hidden cost. Now, the problem that most accounting systems have is that they don't reveal all the costs in the system. There's lots of hidden costs which are not a part of the system, and opportunity costs that never enter the system. So this is another research that I did that I worked on with the US steel industry. So if you all know the pattern, the US steel industry had a massive decline over the last many decades. US steel industry went from producing almost 80% of the US world's share of steel to barely 2%. And if you look at some of the areas where US steel mills used to be, these are all highly dilapidated and nothing is going on now. So the question is, why is this why did the US steel industry become so uncompetitive? What the steel industry claimed is that environmental regulation, that because of that, it's very hard to compete with steel from places like Japan and Korea. But when you looked at their accounting systems, they showed environmental regulation cost to be pretty low, like $5 a ton. For $300 a ton was a total cost of producing steel, and this was just $5 a ton. And if you look at the price difference between US steel and imported steel, it was $70. So there is no way by which this entire lack of competitiveness was driven by a $5 price ticket. So what we did was we wondered if the costs of regulatory compliance are hidden. And so this is a paper that was published, and what we showed is that we did some production economics modeling using Bureau of Census databases, and we found that accounting systems greatly underestimate costs, and a huge magnitude of hidden costs are there. So a $1 increase in regulatory stringency, that is increase in visible costs, increases total cost by $9 to $10, which means that for every $1 increase in regulatory stringency cost, $9 to $10 are hidden in other accounts. But when we talked to some Fortune 100 steel companies, they did not care about it. What they said is, I can't tell you how that information was gathered and compiled. We do not spend a lot of time trying to identify opportunity costs or exploring the economics of environmental costs. We provide what we think the regulatory agency is looking for, but it may not have the consistency or reliability of other numbers. So now the company that made these comments, the companies that made these comments are now no longer in, they all went out of business. So here is one company and what it looks like today. So this is the problem. Hidden costs can make you extremely uncompetitive and not make you resilient. The third research I wanted to talk to you about that is about resilience is how do you deal with capacity cost. This was a research that I did in the US auto industry. So if you look at the US auto industry, they are always overproducing. Thousands, even millions of vehicles are sitting around. And the question that we have is the problem of excess production is much more pronounced in the US than in Japan or Europe or any other company. And then when you produce in excess, you have to sell these cars now. And so you end up giving a ton of discount. And when you discount something, customers do not have a good impression about the quality of that product at all. So we did a research here. I did a research with two of my colleagues, which looked at what role do management accounting practices play in the decision to produce in excess of demand. I looked at two potential factors, traditional absorption costing systems and performance measurement systems. And I looked at the economic consequences of producing in excess of demand, both in terms of tangible costs and intangible costs. And this was a paper that we got published over this. So what we found is, whereas in theory, the accounting system is supposed to distinguish between cost of resources supplied and cost of resources used, where current production is supposed to take into account both resources supplied and resources used. But what we found is that companies don't do that. All you do is a very simple equation. You take overhead cost and you divide it by units produced. And now what happens, right? When all the overhead costs are absorbed by current production, a quick way to make costs look less than what they are is just to increase production, right? So if your denominator increases, is higher, then miraculously it looks like your costs have come down because your unit costs are lower, and you can hide these costs in your balance sheet because they will not go to your income statement anymore. The capacity costs are inventoriable, as you know, they are product costs, so they will go into the balance sheet. So you're able to hide those costs until the next period. So excess capacity costs were not separated, and you keep on building more units in order to reduce unit costs. And so when then we went after we did some econometric analysis, we talked to the company, auto company people, and they said, yes, in order to make money, short-term profit targets, you build more units, and we have to find a way to sell more units. And you don't want to fall on your sword for the sake of a long-term profit, and so you get into the short-term cycle. So what we found, we did an entire econometric mapping model with data, and what we found is when they have excess capacity, their improper accounting for fixed costs and their bad quality performance measurement incentives that gives bonus for short-term profit rather than the long-term company resilience or anything like that. No, they don't look at that. It's short-term bonuses. And so because of that, there is excess production. Now to sell these units that nobody wants, they'll have to spend a lot of tangible costs like advertising, customer incentives, and inventory. And then next, now it really affects their brand image, right? So let me just stop share for a moment here. And I'm going to just, so that you don't look at the slides forever. I want to stop here and I want to say that building resilient accounting systems is not the job of one person, right? It's a whole company has to be engaged. And it is almost like you have to think in a very big picture. If managers are always concerned only about getting short-term targets and getting their bonuses for this year and showing off how their company is doing this year. Like if you're thinking about running a company as though it's a fashion show, so you just show off the best part of the company, it's not going to build long-term resilient companies. It'll produce short-term profits, and in the long-term, competitive advantage will be fairly badly affected, especially when there is a need for resilience. You will not be able to get that, right? So now coming back to my presentation. So this was my work that I did with one of the big three automakers using archival analysis. And that's what we found, that the intangible costs like brand image, unfortunately, are never part of the accounting system. And so you never, ever get to see it. And that is like a huge problem, right? So this is the brand image is affected for the future. Okay, so next I'm going to talk about measurement error number 4, which is mental models. What do we mean by mental models? Now, every accounting system has a psychological component to it. That is, you build an accounting system, but people's representation of the system and causal relations are different from these formal scientific models. People have mental models of how an accounting system operates. And these mental models are qualitative, they're incomplete, and they substitute variables from the formal model with familiar variables, and they cause judgment and decisions to differ from predicted models. And so in making performance measure decisions or budgeting or weighting decisions or compensation decisions, what happens is individuals' mental models are, some of them are consistent with the model predictions, but others are incomplete. And that results in predictable directional decision errors. So this was a paper I published with two of my colleagues, Mike Shields and Joan Luft. And I can post these papers later for you to read. What we found is systematically when you're making decisions, and this left hand, and I'm not going to go over this because it's kind of technical, but the left hand side here is how you would use a regular mental model if you were using the accounting system design. And right hand side is all the errors that you end up making because you're not using the system properly. So that is the one set of things I wanted to mention. As I said, accounting is supposed to provide information about the underlying economics, but in the process, it has error. Now I'll turn to the second part of the presentation, which is bias. What do we mean by bias? Well, bias simply means that I know I'm doing something bad to present the accounting system to look better than it is, but I don't really care because I wanted to cook the books and so I'm cooking it. So what is the origins of bias? Well, one basic types of bias arise from three types of information problems. What we call moral hazard, what we call adverse selection, and what we call signaling. These are all economic theories, right? These are all differing according to the timing at which asymmetric information occurs. So moral hazard means that the employee, which is the agent, has to carry out some action that people cannot verify, and this is done after the contract is signed. And now you don't know whether the manager is putting in his or her best effort or not. And the manager could be shirking, but you cannot tell because managerial effort, you cannot observe it. It's unobservable. And the agent will have, let's say, same information before they are doing a job, but after they have the job, they have more information about the task they're doing than their supervisor or the owner will have. And so there are lots of solutions that have been provided to agency problems in accounting. I'm giving some examples: target setting, hurdle contracts, participation, incentive compensation, governance and control, delegation. And I'm given here just like there are literally hundreds of articles in accounting that have been published as solutions to agency problems. But at the same time, remember that agency problems do not occur all the time. Even when nobody is watching, people don't necessarily shirk. They don't necessarily grab slack even when nobody is watching and when there's an opportunity. And so we have to understand the behavioral drivers of actions. And when it comes to behavioral drivers, the first question you have to ask is, do the managers in your company have preferences for honesty as well as wealth? The answer to this is can be yes, if you have organizations that have good values, right? At the end of the day, building an organization that has a good value system, integrity, service, helping the entire value chain prosper, providing some value proposition for my customers, treating my employees fairly, not polluting the environment, right? So organizations that have good value systems are ones that ultimately produce managers that have preferences for honesty. And if managers have preferences for honesty, literally speaking, you have your resilient organization. It's ready. You don't have to do anything more. And it increases the value of the communication that you can have with managers, and firm's performance can improve if you take into account these preferences for honesty. How can you test all these in your company? Well, you can test by using experiments. Experimental design is a good way to test these questions. So now one other thing I wanted to mention about managers and their preferences is psychological contracts. Resilience requires value chain collaboration, collaborative relationships. I mentioned employees, also customers, suppliers, all these you need collaborative relationships. And collaboration induced resilience is more associated with psychological contracts than economic contracts. What do we mean by psychological contracts? Well, they're completely different from what we call transactional contracts. In transactional contracts, all that matters is the monetary value. All you care about is how much money the other person can provide for you, right? What do I gain out of this contract? You just want to maximize your value, your company's value, etc. In a relational contract, though, it has socio-emotional elements. You don't just want to maximize your value or the value of a small group. You want to have a relation with the employee or the supplier. You want reciprocity, you want trust, you want respect, and you want involvement. And in the long run, relational contracts really build great resilient organizations. So a psychological contract is, instead of just saying, okay, here is a transactional deal, here's an implicit deal, we get it, you get it, and the inferred deal, that is that, there is a relation here. I understand it, you understand it. We are not going to write everything down, because why do we have to? We understand that both of us are going to act in the best interest of the firm, and so on. So, how can these be done? Well, again, mission statements, written or oral communication, policies, procedures, interpersonal interactions, all these can develop psychological contracts. So what do you need? People should believe that there's mutual obligations. People should believe that their firms have made a promise to fulfill these obligations. And people must be willing to provide some kind of non-financial consideration, like honesty, in exchange for the firms fulfilling the promise. And employees evaluate their psychological contracts, and they determine whether it's been fulfilled or breached. And these evaluations affect their behavior. And if you breach a psychological contract, if an employee believes that the firm has failed to keep the promise, then the exchange relationship is undermined. There is emotional distress, anger, betrayal, and there's decreased performance and decreased organizational commitment, and eventually you're going to lose the best employees of the firm. So now, just to wrap all this up, to understand organizational and employee resilience, are the systematic factors we can identify which cause errors in decisions. This requires lots of different types of theoretical frameworks as well as different methods. And so to conclude here, robust and thorough understanding of managerial accounting to build resilient organizations requires a constant analysis of accounting system strength, recognition of preferences of value chain participants, management of strength and synergies of employees. So that is all from my side. Let me stop sharing here. So as I said, I wish I could be there in person, but please make sure to take my email from the participant, from the coordinators. And I greatly thank the organizers of this conference. I know how hard it is to organize a conference, and months and even years of work must have gone into organizing this conference. So thank you to the participants and the organizers. Thank you for your effort. And please feel free to email me if you have any questions, or if you'd like to read any of these papers. I'll be happy to send it to you. Thank you very much, and have a fantastic conference. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. The next dignitary to honor us with his presence is Mr. Asim Kumar Mukhopadhyay, FCMA, FCA, FCS, CEO and MD of TML Smart City Mobility Solution Limited, Mumbai, for the keynote address on the topic Emerging Roles of Accounting and Finance Professionals. Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon. And before I start the, okay, it's with me. Right chain. Good afternoon. Before I start the session, I must congratulate the Jain University for organizing the convention in coordination with the Institute of Cost Accountants as well as the CII. I would say the Chancellor and various other dignitaries and the professors we met yesterday are real visionary. We talk of business as usual. The kind of vision they are inculcating is, frankly speaking, not education as usual. What the country needs, that is to be done. So that direction for strategy for this university was what appealed to me very much. So I am aware that I am standing between lunch and the session, but I will try to be brief and try to tell you more about my experiences and how, as an accounting as a profession, finance as a profession, how people felt it and what finally we wanted to achieve through it. So might be prior to these you had sessions on Industry 4.0, you have heard. Some of my slides will also hint towards it. But these Industry 4.0 imperatives, how it is getting affected, getting impact on the accounting domain, on the accountant's domain need to be seen. See, frankly speaking, we have seen traditional way of accountants where we say that if an accountant's wife is not getting asleep, they say, darling, can you tell me about your work? That was the kind of feeling on accountants was there. Somebody says, I am a hardcore accountant. I only converted into a business leader or a CEO 9 months back. But otherwise, I was the CFO of many companies, and I was heading the group performance for Tata Motors for all the companies, including Jaguar, Land Rovers, and others. And it's only in the month of last May 22, I become the CEO and managing director of this company. It's a new business. And my group chairman said that, why don't you take it up? So what I mean to say that we had our own perceptions, which has taken us in a field by which we are little monotonous. We are like going to the win counters of the past. But today's accounting profession is not like that. I will tell you a story. A person lost his way in the jungle. So he was driving a jeep, and he find that when he lost his way in the jungle, in front of it there is someone in the motorcycle. So he asked the person the question, "Where are we?" The fellow said, "You are on the jeep, I am on the motorcycle." He said, "Are you an accountant?" He said, "Yes, but how do you come to know?" He said, "An accountant can only afford to give such reply, that's why I thought like that." That's what people tell about us. So we have to get out of it, and I feel that the purpose of this presentation is nothing but to generate some interest, and you say how the modern generation accountants, how keeping pace with the changes, accountants should change themselves. So in this slide, I wanted to predict that these are the few changes which is happening globally, the business imperatives. Increased volatility, intense competition, cost pressure, everything is there. But finally, I would say the industry or the business today which I belong to, you may be aware, this is a very new model. I think the last bullet is talking of that subscription economy. I will come to that. But what has happened is that we were all accustomed in seeing that a product need to be manufactured and sold. But in advanced countries, this subscription economy stays, where you will find that you more buy the usage and not the product. And when you buy the usage, naturally there is a huge cost pressure which is coming. But that cost pressure which is coming on you, there is a pressure on your balance sheet because it's kind of an own, operate and maintenance of that one. Nobody buys car today. People used to use the car. This will go to every field. So when we are going in that situation, recently concluded the world's largest e-bus contracts, reduced the prices by about 40% of what was the price. This was the world's largest e-bus contract of 5450 numbers conducted by CESL. CESL works in coordination with Niti Aayog. And I must say that after we backed that contract, my company backed that contract, the chief climate officer of White House came and she had a meeting with me in Bombay House, telling Tata's Bombay House that how come that in US a single e-bus is not manufactured in United States, and in India the e-buses are manufactured and you are able to tender 5,450 buses. We wanted to understand. In Bombay city itself, about 500 such buses are plying. I said, I'm open, ma'am. I can accompany you in those buses, because whichever city I go, I sometimes travel in those buses. I stop my car, I travel those buses. I ask the customers what is what. So what I'm trying to say is the volatility and intense competition can reduce the cost, reduce the price, and the manufacturers or the service providers are compelled to do that. And they make money. But I'm telling the efficiency comes out through it. Then secondly, it's called digital disruption. Customer experiences connected ecosystem. Now, customers are very much concerned. In fact, I'm getting little influenced by telling, you talk of customer centricity and all. Today, the customer centricity I will tell you a customer centricity story, which is nothing but a Taj hotel. Yesterday, the gentleman was talking of Taj and Taj. I was basically trying to tell you, will just not believe what is called customer centricity. This is a culture. We'll call that culture is basically the breakfast of a strategy. The story, if you hear, you will find that real customer centricity means that, and customer experience, which is causing digital disruptions, should be followed by this type of thing. It's a very simple story. Today we are almost at the end of January. So we'll be getting into February very soon, and a very important day in February is the Valentine Day, 14th February. So in the Taj Hotel, a couple used to come for having their dinner in the Thai pavilion. So naturally, every five-star or renowned hotels used to dial the people that your booking is still not there. What is that? So a very common person, not a very high office, grade officer for the Taj Hotel, he rang up the lady. The lady stays in the Vandakula complex and said that, ma'am, both of you used to come for the Valentine's Day dinner, and this time we haven't got any booking for you. So what happened? You are not coming this time or what? Then the lady said that, what about Valentine's Day dinner? My Valentine is in San Francisco, so I can't come in this Valentine's Day. We'll celebrate when he is back. Then that fellow said that, ma'am, can you share his number and his address if it is so? Then lady was not very happy. He said, why you need? He said, I just wish him because you are our habitual, regularly you are coming to our hotel on the Valentine's Day, so you are not coming. Then the lady shared. And what that fellow did, they are aware about what this couple's liking was, what kind of dishes the couple prefer. Just listen. And he arranged a similar Thai dish from a local joint of San Francisco with the help of the Taj chefs, and then reached to the lady to explain that, ma'am, I arranged like this, there will be a time zone issue, and our people will reach your residence with the same kind of a dish. Your better half will also get the same dish, and you will have a candlelight dinner, and which will be during the video conference. And it's a surprise to your husband, and plus please follow it. Just think about a person, what kind of customer centricity you can have it. I'm telling you, this customer centricity is possible in the digital world in a very big way. I'll give you another example. I was in a Taj hotel, myself and my wife, in our personal tour. My wife must have landed in that hotel 5 years back, not that. So just she said that, give us a good room. He said, yeah, ma'am, I know. Last time when you entered in the hotel, you said, this hotel is in front of zoo. I should be able to see the zoo animals from that one. This time we have assured, we have upgraded your room, and I will take you to the room to see, and at least you are able to see 1 or 2 elephants from your room. This is what the power of digital, this is what the customer centricity, and this is what we should also think over when we are doing our job. Regulations are there. Increased regulations are always there. Control, compliances, IFC reporting, all these things are happening. But this compliance should not be taken in such perspective that this is in contradiction with your business performance. But at the same time, these are the DNAs, and this has to be adhered to. Supply chain, localization of globalization, that's very important. Localization of globalization means all global things available, but with the same quality, with the same perception, and with the local intent. And finally, when I talked about subscription economy, this is a food for thought for the accountants community. That I am telling you, 5 years or 7 years or 10 years, I do not know. The entire buy and sell transaction things are going to disappear. It will be a subscription economy. Everybody like US or Europe will only pay the EMI. Now, no buses are getting purchased, whether it's an STU or it's an airlines or it's a school, everybody is buying it through the OPEX model. It's a difficult thing to manage the transaction, to strike the business model, to solve the problem of your balance sheet, but what is the reality that need to be transformed? And who is to transform that? We. This community only need to transform it, find it out, how this business model can be properly organized. Sorry. So coming from there, I would just talk on the C-shoots expectation from finance function. Foresee the unforeseeable future as dynamic business models are emerging. I'm again hinging on subscription economy. You have done lots of costing, pricing, whether it's a cost plus pricing, whether it's a skimming pricing, whether it's a penetration pricing, but all your cost models will get changed when you are in a subscription economy. You have to make money. But I'm telling you, it's highly profitable. You take a bus, you sell a bus, you forget. The customer, ultimate customer, may or may not use your spares and aggregates. But in this case, if you are maintaining that bus for next 10 years, one electric vehicle costs about 1.5 crores. The spares and aggregates which we buy is 5 to 6 crores. Think over how many times it happens. So the subscription economy is also one way I would say is a scope of optimizing your returns at the same time reducing your costs. Because the scope is widening further. Partnering with business in smooth adoption with giant advances in technology and changes in the investment landscape. I have expressed it in many of the conventions and seminars. I'm telling you the ideal organization today is business partnering. If I talk of our organization, a Tata Motors manufacturing unit, which comprises of maybe engine shop, gear shop, axle shop, assembly line, or the foundry, everywhere you will find a CFO. And they are reporting, we call it is divisional concept of divisional entity manager and functional entity manager. Nagesh from CII is sitting there. He himself has seen 4 of our assessment, how our mini CFOs across, wherever you go to a sales outlet, there is a CFO over there. These are called business partnering approach. His reporting is to the business manager. Frankly speaking, all of us are working for the business. If the business doesn't gel, you are not going to get your pie of the cake. So business partnering is the most important things, and today's generation or tomorrow's generations need to give more emphasis. In fact, we have done it in 2001. Today we are reaping the benefit of it. Unique end-to-end view of an organization to be leveraged for highlighting red flags and action areas. These are highly automated, digitally enabled. Red flags come automatically. Even if red flags are not coming automatically, there should be mini system by which timely you get the red flags. Every CEO, every C-suite boss are expecting that to happen from an accountant. Focus on business partnering and embedded itself across all functions of the organization. The examples which I'm giving is exactly that. It is across all functions, end to end. Become guardians of business model and ensure financial fitness. Frankly speaking, you have to think of, subsequently I will say, growth, profitability and cash, and the financial fitness is most important thing. If you are not financially fit, a beggar cannot extend charity. So in order to extend charity, you have to be a wealthy person. You have to make money, but not at the cost. Cost optimization is also should be at your key. But financial fitness is an imperative which is expected by every issue. Then modern finance function should lead in value enhancement and build sustainable business. Now value enhancement, value creation, value migration, people are talking in different way. What I say is that you must always expect that am I creating value for the organization? And value, when you create, you must keep in mind what you considered as value 10 years back, that may not be the value. because value migration is also taking place. So in the real terms, doing the value creation is the most important thing for every business. How it happens to your business, it is basically this happens only when you are involved with the business. As a finance and accounting person, if you are involved with the business, then you will be able to suggest, you will be able to find out the norms to create the values. So finance is no longer the bean counter of the past. It will play a pivotal role in ensuring financial fitness and leveraging digital enablement and build sustainable business model. If anything is not sustained, it is not, finally is not giving its fruits. Here I tried to map, although there is nothing like finance 4.0, but I tried to map industry 4.0 with finance 4.0. How it happens. I think I need not repeat on industry 4.0. My predecessors must have, previous speakers must have done it in very well. In fact, Professor C. Kumar was talking to me when he was talking about this session. He said, sir, whether you will talk on industry 4.0. I said, maybe someone else will talk better on industry 4.0. Let me start talking on finance only, because I've spent more than 35 years in finance. So when you talk of increased productivity, shift economies, foster industrial growth, modify profile of the workforce, change the competitiveness of companies and regions, move from a mechanization, electrification, automation, and cyber physical system, what the finance need to do? Finance 1.0, I say it's legacy dominated. Please try to find it out. We are all very much proud of our past, our own legacy. But today's situation is, I always believe, selectively abandon the past. So 1.0 was legacy dominated. We have to come out of that legacy. Finance 2.0 is digitally enhanced. Digital enhancement have happened. We have seen today's digital world, and 20 years back also we were digital. In 2.0 we have seen enhancement, but we didn't see the enablement. Finance 3.0 is actually digitally enabled. And when we feel that we are in finance 4.0 and we are really catering to industry 4.0, that is the digital optimization. I was amazed to hear him, Dr. Basu, when he was talking yesterday, his own perception about the digital and how the digital transformation he has mapped at his age. So please mark the language: enhancement, enablement, and optimization. So perhaps depending on industry to industry, it could be either somebody have enhanced, somebody has enabled, but we need to digitally optimize. I will give you an example. I was in Qatar last week. Why I went to Qatar? Frankly speaking, I run a company which has to own, operate, and maintain buses in the cities, urban mobility. And I found that 3,000 such buses in the World Cup, in a flawless manner, they could manage. And there was a company who has helped them. Many companies are, while reaching there, I find many companies have helped them. One of the important companies, Nippon Electric Corporation, Japan. In fact, the prince of that country has brought the best talents of the world to find out what is basically will suit for him to deliver flawlessly the World Cup performance. I'm telling you, the route, the depot, the driver's behavior, the state of the charge of each of the bus, the roads, including possibility of the changes, like UAE wins a game. Naturally, everybody from Saudi is coming to witness the match. Others are quitting. So buses need to be placed at some other location than this location. And these changes happen in 6 hours' time. You will not believe, from the command and control center, Only 6 people has managed these things. 6 people. I met all the 6 people in person. They have demonstrated me the capability of the command and control center, where entire the country with all the 3,000 buses, with all the passengers, with all the drivers, there is also a knock coming that this is the part which may have a problem. So this bus need to be taken somewhere else to repair it immediately. This bus requires an opportunity charging. Charging is going to be over. This driver is getting drowsy, so this driver has to be replaced. Everything is coming in the command and control center, and nobody other than this 6 person has managed this. Can you just think over a flawless organization of the World Cup has happened with a software provided by whoever may be the party. The company is called Moasalat Transport Corporation, who is owning the IP of that model, and with the help of the digital enablement, they have done it. This is called digital optimization. I only went there to see that if we are to map a system in a busy city like Bangalore with a kind of a traffic congestions, how we will manage. Delhi, we are already managing some 2,600 CNG buses and some 100 electric buses, 1,500 electric buses. Further, we are going to deliver. But I am telling you, you have to think over. You have to think much before that it is not that a thermal incident. Today is the Facebook, Twitter world. Morning I get up, I find that so many questions. One of my buses got fire at some of such places. What is happening? Now, I am looking for a system which will give me trigger rather than a Facebook or a Twitter message. Or the media is telling something. And they have really done it. Another example I will give it to you, what is the power of the software. An Austrian lady lost his purse. So she was very irritated. And she went to the police station, and they have shown me the video. The King's Secretary has shown me the video. And it was everything captured digitally. And when the lady was passing through the police center, those people, the policeman told him, you are such and such. Yes, you lost your parts because of the security lapse. You kept your parts in a different place, and our security has placed it in somewhere else. So what kind of punishment, ma'am, you suggest for the security? The security is liable. The lady checked her parts, and he said, what a punishment I will call for. I returned the parts and you have located it. And they said 21 minutes have been taken by the lady to reach from the stadium where she was witnessing the match to come to the police center. And this is the detection, and everything has been done from the power of digital. Can you think over? I am telling you, this is what is called digital. Digital optimization when I am talking, and this community and the community of the large, the finance and accounts community has to take it. They have to perceive that type of digital optimization. World has changed. It was changed dramatically. Unless you change yourselves, you will be outrooted. This slide I will not spend much time. The sum and substance of this slide is that embracing 4.0 technologies will be a win-win for finance professionals. Because when you are doing cloud computing or robotic process automation or artificial intelligence or Internet of Things, doing the data analytics, I'll spend some time in data analytics, and in fact, huge money is being spent in US beyond the big data. That's the point which we need to harp upon. Data is shared via easy to comprehend charts. Blockchain is being talked about, everybody is knowing about it. So I'm not, this is an industry 4.0 subject, but what I'm trying to say, that finance professions, it will be a win-win if we are able to embrace all this. Otherwise, we are in problem. So focusing 4 digital technologies that the emerging finance professionals should. One is the automation and robotics. You enable the planning and budgeting platforms in cloud-based solutions. Automate reconciliation using single source of truth. Apply robotics for standardizing your report generation. And then when you talk of advanced analytics for finance, it is accelerating the decision support. Every CEO or COO requires a decision support from finance. Accelerate decision support by conducting top-down scenario analysis, develop self-optimizing algorithms for forecasts, develop models to improve on working capital and inventory management. While I am making this PowerPoint presentation, in my company, PowerPoint presentation is banned. After I became CEO, after 2 months, I decided this company, since it says service organization which is going to give a world-class service organization like a startup, not in a conventional business, should not make PowerPoint presentation, should always go to the systems. PowerPoint presentation is made only for the directors or in the board meeting. This type of changes you need to bring in order to change your mindset. Because finally, I believe powerful people don't need PowerPoint presentation. You may say that, why then you are using a PowerPoint presentation? I said, perhaps we have not grown up to that stage, and when we'll come to that stage, we will not even use in conference this PowerPoint presentation. Nothing wrong in PowerPoint presentation, but people don't use the systems. So one single version of truth is not believed. If you ask the cost, somebody will go through his laptop, his seats, somebody will go to SAP, somebody will have another version of customized SAP. This is not what is desired of. Single source of truth can come only from the system. This is the purpose why I said that I banned PowerPoint presentations. Data visualization, provide real-time financial information, dynamic dashboard and graphics tailored to needs, deliver ubiquitous report by providing information at detail level and seamless combination of information from various sources. Advanced analytics for business, unlock hidden shareholder value and growth opportunities, support optimization of pricing, track resource utilization at desired level, and focus on predictive models for early warnings. That's very important. Predictive models for early warnings. Every CEO demands a predictive warning. So finance professional may face a few obstacles and challenges which needs to be overcome. Which is the obstacle? Overall digital vision not clearly defined. I will finish. Yeah, 5 minutes I finish. Solution integrative decisions to be undertaken, CFT to be formed to come up with joint digital vision. Obstacle, digital initiatives not linked to business strategy, which is there common in every organization. Digital goes in one way, business strategy goes in the other way. Link specific initiatives to broader corporate strategy, identify linkages and monitor outcome. Obstacle, lack of clear mandate to digitize process across the organizations. All these slides I created myself. That's what I'm telling you. I perceived that because the whole career I spent in finance, what could be with the new age you perceive as your obstacle and how the solutions will emerge. Backlash within the finance organization for digitization of initiatives. Because you will find a lot of backlash within your own organization. How to overcome that? Understanding gap between digital finance teams and business unit and capability gap in digital finance function. So there is solutions everywhere there. I've given the slides to the organizers. You can get these slides. I'll be very happy if these inputs are used optimally. So finally, it is a very, you can say my favorite way of telling that finally every business has to secure growth, secure profitability, and secure cash. So apart from digital capabilities, the new finance function should also be quick in identifying and adopting a business model. A business model which can secure growth, secure profitability, and secure cash sustainability. That's the real value creation. And that is the business model the finance community need to support. Innovative financing solution, bundle service offering to create enhanced business value proposition and diversify. What is bundle solution? When you tell a customer that you buy the product and so long you will use the product, any problem, you just use this app and log in, my person will be with you. So when you pay the price for the product now, you are basically paying for the life cycle. Your problems are solved. Lot of examples can be given of bundled offerings, whether you call it an AMC, whether you call it anything else. But if you have a bundled offer, if the customer is free, that I'm not going to face the problem with the product, customer will buy your product. So that will bring growth. Focus on new business models and strengthen our competitive positions. We should suggest to the CEOs what should be the business model. Similarly, cost competitiveness, leveraging power of IT, focusing on revenue maximization and judicious allocation of resource in ensuring high return on equity and ensure commercial sense for value chain partners. Finally, I call it value creation triology. This is the terminology I use, where I say preserve value, liberate value, create value. Preserve value, liberate value, create value. While we preserve value, you are institutionalizing cost management through continuous Kaizen on cost. Readiness for cyclicity, uncertainty. You are making a playbook for low margin products. Liberate value, structural improvement through agility and lean principles. Develop capabilities beyond cost reduction. Drive lower break-evens and embed cost-focused culture in the organization. Create value, customer value proposition. Customer profitability. Everybody makes his own profitability. Today, it's customer profitability first. Therefore, only your growth, your profitability, your cash will come. Disruptive business model like subscription model, you may call it a disruption, but it is not the disruption, it will be order of the day. And it will be very profitable. And cost management for dealers and suppliers. So effective business partnering by moving from reactive to proactive role. So this is my last slide. Conventional finance, modern finance, future finance. Conventional finance, accounting, MIS, integrated reporting, taxation, filings. Modern finance, business partnering, business analyst, business transformation, strategic taxation. Future finance, technology will be strategic asset and competitive differentiator. Drive innovation, align risk to performance, enhance trust in business, what if analysis on real-time basis. What if? Business as usual is not the theory. Sustained cost reduction measures, operational excellence, and data-driven insights. That will cause transformation. So key attributes of future finance and accounting professional: advanced capabilities, digital driver of business, responsibility beyond core topics. Finally, I went to Charles Darwin only. It's not the strongest or the most intelligent who will survive. Best managed transformation. With this, I must thank the organizers, Professor C. Kumar, and so many others, professors, chancellors, vice chancellors, pro-vice chancellors, who has given me the opportunity to express my feeling on what should be the finance role. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Now I invite Professor Dr. Sri Kumar to present the memento to Mr. Asim Kumar Mukhopadhyay. We shall resume at 2 p.m. after lunch, and lunch has been served at the 13th floor just beneath this. Thank you.